Hello. It's technical issues. Always with the technical issues with live streams. I don't know what it is. Oh, I had a little bit of a sweaty moment there. Yeah, it's a bit of a panic. Sorry about that. I need to clear my throat already. I've not even started yet. One sec. Ooh, that was exciting. Yes, there was a couple of things that weren't working correctly at YouTube's end. I had to quickly fix them. So sorry about that. I don't know. Anyway, yes, welcome one and all to the eModels YouTube channel. It is time for me to start building. Well, you know what it is? It's this big boy right here. Yes, I'm going to be building for eModels the Warhammer 40,000 from Games Workshop Knight Preceptor Canis Rex Imperial Knight. Now it's going to be a while before I get round to painting it, but I thought I might as well do some live streams to get the thing just built and ready. It's going to take us a few weeks going through, live streams, just getting all this built up. So I might as well spend some time building it with you until such time as I can paint it for you. The painting, of course, will be a proper pre-recorded painting guide series, but the build we're just going to do as live streams. So yes, welcome one and all to the eModels YouTube channel. Very quickly, of course, don't forget this is hang on, enormous coffee required straight away. This is, of course, the channel of emodels.co.uk, your one-stop shop for all your model making needs, all of them, all the needs there are, any of the needs you can think of, all of them. That's what they're there for. So emodels.co.uk, your one-stop shop. Where am I going? This isn't the fixed camera angle, by the way. I've just got the camera up here for now, so I can do the unboxing and show you what's in there. We'll move the camera in a bit. But yes, this is free models. Of course, you can't see it on screen here. I've not got it here, but there is a live chat if you're watching this anywhere except in YouTube. So if you're watching this embedded on the eModels Facebook page or on the eModels website itself, because it's on there if you're on the website, do feel free to come and join the live chat. Click the little YouTube icon that's down here in the bottom right hand corner somewhere. That'll take you to the YouTube page where you can carry on watching and you can join the live chat. And you should join the live chat because it's awesome and it's full of awesome people. And we'll have a look in a minute and see who's in. It's full of awesome people and a good time will be had by all. Now I'll be here till 6 o'clock till I have to go off and do the washing up and then make the dinner. So come join me as we get building and unboxing. Very quickly, don't forget, of course, because this is a stream on eModels channel, it's an eModels show, it is specific to them. Please be nice in chat, keep the chat family friendly. It's an all ages build, and don't forget, of course, please do not mention other retailers in the chat. That's kind of a not good move. It is an eModels stream, so yes. Now this is available for eModels, although it may not necessarily be in stock right now, but they are expecting restocks very soon. So if you're excited to build one of these yourself, don't panic, it'll be back in stock very soon. I think that this might have gone out of stock now, they might have sold out, but they are awaiting a new delivery from Games Workshop, so stay tuned. Now, before we get going, I'm going to say hello to people in chat. We have, let's have a look. Mayhem Model Works was first in chat that I can see, and then David Sanderson, so hello to both of you two. The Raging Modeler as well. Him and Mayhem always turn up at the same time. I wonder, We have Graham Roberts is in. Welcome, Graham. Who else is in? I know this won't be everybody. William Rayborn's in. I've got my coffee. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, William. Let's have Edward Leonard's in. Says no. I don't know why Edward Leonard says no, but he says no. Also, I've got my squishy here. There's my squishy, Edward. How are your squishies? Edward's got jellies. He's got sea jellies. He's got jellies of the sea as pets, and they're awesome, and I want them. Let's have a look. Sarah Jane's in. I'll just sit at the back with my big jug of coffee and 4 big ice cream duff nuts. I need coffee. I need those donuts. I need your coffee, your donuts, and your motorcycle. I don't know why I did that. And she just managed a thumbs up without spilling anything. Then I posted up a comment saying goodbye, which was a mistake. I don't know why I did that. Everything was breaking. Wendy Hickson is in. Welcome, Wendy. We have, let's have a look and see. David Sanderson, Sarah Jane, Edward Leonard. Everybody saying hello. Ethel McNichol's in. Welcome, Ethel. My God, it's Fox doing Foxy building things. It is indeed. Well, it's about time we actually gave eModels some content other than just the Monday show. So I figured, like I say, may as well get this built on streams, because it's going to be a little while before I can get around to painting it. I'm waiting for the new stock of the replacement stock from Games Workshop to come in for eModels, so I can use all the paints and stuff. When I do it, they'll all be in stock, because there's no point me painting all this using all the stuff that's not available at that moment in time. It's a bit silly. So I'm waiting for all the new stuff to come in stock so I can crack on with this. Let's have a look. David Sanderson, are you going to paint it like the box? Well, I'm going to build it. I'll explain about this kit in a minute, but I'm going to build it as Canis Rex, so you don't have to. But I'm not necessarily going to paint it to look like that. I mean, I'll use the same colours. I'm going to stick with the heraldry and the colour scheme, because it's a very specific, I nearly said mobile suit then. It's a very specific knight suit, and it's a very specific story to this particular suit and this particular precept. I think he's called no, he's not what he's called. What's the pilot called? It's not a precept. It might be a precept. No. It begins with P. I can't remember the word. Anyway, it's not pilot, obviously. It's a very specific dude in a very specific knight suit. So if you're building Canis Rex, it kind of has to look like that. But I'm not going to paint it that neatly. As in, I'm not going to make it nice and clean and shiny. We'll have a look at that in a minute, though. Let's have a look. Steve Ford says, hi all, my first time here. Got one of these to build, so wanted to see how Fox did it. Thank you for coming in, Steve. Do keep in mind when I do build this, it's going into eModels display cabinet. It's not for gameplay. So I'm not going to be doing any magnetising or variations or anything. I'm just going to build it as a static model, because it's not going to go play on a tabletop, so I don't need to worry about that. I will be doing some night builds on my own channel, and then I'll probably do things like magnetisation and stuff in there. But welcome, Steve. Welcome. Hello, Fox. Zane, hope we are all having a good day, says EC Idaho. Welcome, EC Idaho, but I don't know who Zane is. Let's have a look. Who else do we have? Chris at Gross Models is in. Welcome, Chris at Gross Models. He's one of your lovely, fluffy mods. Remember, in chat, it's a nice place in chat. It's all friendly. The mods will keep you safe, and Chris is one of them. Some others may turn up as the show goes on. Please do keep in... I'll start that again. Hang on. More coffee. Please do behave in chat. The mods are nice and lovely and fluffy, and they'll keep you safe. But if you cross them, they'll set you alight and cast you into the heart of the sun. So don't cross the mods. Peter the Pilot, says Chris at Gross Models. No. I've forgotten what they're called. Does it say on the box what he is? He's a... Somebody look it up on Google for me. He's not a precept. What do you call the pilot of an Imperial or of a Titan? It's called a it's a Latin word. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Ooh, got my own mention. Thanks, Fox, says Steve Ford. Everybody gets a mention. Right. I think that's everybody so far. Now, I don't expect there to be millions of people in the stream today in chat, because it's a Friday afternoon, and it's a Friday afternoon. So I know some of you may be lucky enough to be back at work. So we'll see how it goes. I've got to clean my glasses because I've got a dirty great thumbprint right in the middle of my glasses. Oh, lovely. Now, I do have the chat in front of me. It's just off camera there, but when I move the camera in a minute, you'll see it. So please, if you are watching, do come and join live chat, and do ask me questions and interact with me. It gives me something to talk about while I'm working. And you can ask me questions. Ask me anything you want. It doesn't have to be about eModels. It doesn't have to be about models. It can be about anything. No religion and no politics. But anything else is fair game. I do keep in mind, though, that I do not work directly for eModels. None of us video team at eModels work for eModels. So we have no idea about things being in stock, or when they'll be back in stock, or how much things is, or if we've got something in stock. We're not actually employees. We do this out of the goodness of our hearts, and because we love to do it. Yes. Anyway, let's shut up, Fox, and crack on. So this is the Imperial Knight. It's a Questoris class knight. And this one's called Canis Rex. I'll read the blurb on the back for you. It's a very specific suit. It says, Canis Rex is the Knight Preceptor of Sir Hector Cerberin, the renowned chainbreaker. This valiant freeblade is the last of his line, and a determined foe of the forces of chaos in all their forms. Noble and knight suit, fight as one to punish those who destroyed their homeworld. Yes, Sir Hector was the head of House Cerberon. Basically, in Warhammer lore, tens of thousands of years ago, there was the dark age of technology, and humans, when they colonized worlds, they used Imperial Knights not as vehicles of war, but they used them to clear forestry, to clear land, and to kill off dangerous alien life that may threaten a colony forming on the planet. So they're more of a defensive thing and a ground clearing thing. In the intervening millennia, though, all that knowledge was lost, and these became just weapons of war. Now they can make new ones, but only limited certain types. These Questores style knights, they can remake these, but a lot of these knights are ancient. They're hundreds, if not thousands, of years old, and they're maintained lovingly. And they're pilot. And the pilots of knights are called scions. No, not Princeps. That's it. Princeps, says Mayhem. Princeps, yeah, the Princept is a pilot of a knight or a knight type titan. So these vehicles, these weapons may be around for hundreds or thousands of years, and they'll go through many pilots or princepts in their time. And what happens is the pilot, the princept, is a noble of a house, and he bonds with the machine. He connects to the throne mechanicum, which is the pilot's seat, and all these connections into his neural network. And he connects with it, and the knight maintains the psyche of all its previous pilots, and the new pilot will take all those traits on board, and it's kind of a real psychic thing. It's all 40k weirdness and lore, but basically there's like all the, I could say souls is not really the right word, but all the knowledge of the previous princeps is in the mind of the knight, in the mind of the knight suit, and the new pilot, in this case Sir Hector, controls it. And he bonds and he's at one with his machine. Now, in the lore, Sir Hector's homeworld came under attack, and all the knights in House Cerberon, and the reason this is called Canis Rex, I think, is because it's House Cerberon, and Cerberus was a mythical dog with 3 heads. So if this is the head, if he's the head of House Cerberus, he's the big dog, and Canis Rex means king of the dogs. So Canis Rex, you see. You see, I made that up in my brain, but it seems to work. So his world came under attack from the forces of Chaos, and Chaos Marines and other Chaos knights attacked his homeworld and all his other knights under his house, and they were all wiped out. They were all captured, and he was being tortured by the forces of Chaos, and his knight was being turned to Chaos, because they don't destroy the knights, they turn them to Chaos. They corrupt and foul the mind of the knight. It's almost AI, but not quite. But Sir Hector Cerberon, whilst under torture, prayed to the God Emperor of Mankind, the Emperor of Mankind, who they see as a god. He prayed to him, and against all odds, the knight, without a pilot, came to life, broke free of its bindings, stormed where it was, and rescued Sir Hector. And then they went off and they found a ship, and they went off into space. This entire homeworld was wiped out. All the other knights and all the other people in his homeworld were killed. He is the last of his house, the last of House Cerberon, and he's alone in space with a few servants, a few other people helping him out with this knight, and it's him and his knight. So these things have a very limited, not quite an AI, they have a spirit engine, or a machine spirit, which is kind of like an AI, but not that advanced. But by some miracle, maybe because of the God Emperor of Mankind interceded, this thing, without a pilot, broke free and rescued him, and defeated all the other agents of Chaos. So this is why he's now travelling alone amongst the stars with his little retinue of helpers, fighting, swearing vengeance against all forces of Chaos and helping out people where they need it. He's now what's called a free blade. At night with no house, it's called a free blade. So he's now a free blade. And he's called Sir Hector the Chain Breaker, hence the symbols of chain. Anyway, that's all the lore out of the way. It's all quite deep, but that's why if you're going to paint Canis Rex, he kind of has to look like that, these colours, because that's his heraldry and that's his lore. But I'm not going to make it this neat and tidy. I'm going to make it like it's a hundreds and hundreds of year old vehicle. It's going to be painted with some damage and weathering. Not horribly weathered, just it's looked after because it's the only knight he's got, but I'm going to make it slightly weathered. But this is an awesome kit. If you've never bought an Imperial Knight kit before, there are 2 basic kits. Well, there's, for this kind of knight, this Questores class knight, there's also the Dominus class knight, which is a bit bigger. If you're buying one of these, there's 2 kits. There's the Canis Rex kit, this one, and there's also the Knight Valiant kit, which Knight Wooden kit, which is basically the same. But in each of them, you have the option of building multiple different knights. You don't have to build the Canis Rex. If you want to build the Canis Rex, you need to get this kit. This is the only knight kit with an opening cockpit. So if you want your Imperial Knight to have an opening cockpit, you need to get whichever one you want to build. Doesn't have to be Canis Rex. You need to get the Canis Rex kit. If you're not bothered about the cockpit and the pilot, then you can go for the Knight Warden kit. But in each of them, you get lots and lots of extra parts. So yeah, I can build it as Canis Rex. I could build it as a Knight Warden. I could build it as a Knight Crusader, a Knight Paladin, or a Knight Errant. The only difference in all these is the weaponry. The Errant has a flamer and a chainsword. The Paladin has a big cannon and a chainsword. The Knight Crusader has a multi-gun and a big cannon, like a chain gun, and the Warden has a chain gun and a big slappy fist. Now, Canis Rex has a unique weapon, the Las Impulsor, which is I think Sir Hector refers to it as an enormous giant great a laser or something like that. A damn great laser, he calls it. And it has the slappy fist of called Freedom's Hand. It has the slappy fist of authority. So, but we're going to build Canis Rex. So, yeah, we're going to get this open. Now, like I say, the only difference between this and the Knight Warden kit is quite literally the extra bits for the Las Impulsor and the bits upside down. Where are we? And the bits for the cockpit. If you get the knocking the camera. If you get the Knight Warden kit, it does not have an interior cockpit. I don't know if they eventually will replace the Knight Warden with this kit. I don't know, but they might do. Wow, that's a heavy, thick. Whoa, blimey, Riley. That's got to be one of the thickest instruction books I've come across. Wow. So, you can build it as 7 different versions. Canis Rex, the Preceptor, the Crusader, the Warden, the Paladin, the Errant, or the Gallant. So it's actually more than's list on the box. And it will take you through the instructions. You'll go through and you build all the different variations. It should, so it says here, for example, the Canis Rex is steps 1 to 8. Preceptor is 9 to 14. Crusader is 9 to 17. So it looks like I only need to worry about steps 1 to 8. So they basically all share common architecture. So the different bits are going to be in the weapons that you actually apply and things like that. So we'll see how it goes. But it should be fairly straightforward. Canis Rex, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you have all the decalage, yes, and that's it. So we only need this bit of the instructions. The rest of it is, oh no, follow steps 9 to 11 for all variants. That seems a bit weird. Okay, but it's referring to other not Canis Rex variants. Yes, so we only need steps 1 to 8. So we need this really. So it's not a complicated build. There's not a lot to build on this. It's not super complicated, but as we go through and build it, I'm going to have to think of painting. I'm going to have to think of sub-assemblies and how I'm going to do various bits and bobs, like how am I going to paint the cockpit? I need to get that painted possibly before it goes in. I'm going to have to keep all that in mind as I go along. Now, like I said, this is being built purely for eModel's display cabinet, so it doesn't matter about if I'm, gluing the arms in place or anything like that. This is a beautiful kit in that you can magnetize it. If you wanted to, you could get this kit, a bit like the Baneblade, you could build this kit and you could use cunning use of magnets would mean that you can magnetize all the different weapons and have this built as all the different variants. So you could have it in such a way that you could swap it from being a Paladin to a Crusader or a Preceptor to a Gallant. So if you're playing a game on the tabletop and you want a Knight Warden, you can just pop the weapons off, pop the other weapons on and change the gun on the top, and you've got a different kind of knight there. So there are ways to magnetize this, but I won't be showing that because this is a straight up, just out the box build. We're not going to go all cunning and careful like that. And unusually, it has to be said, it is unusual that they actually give you the Imperial Knight kit is kind of unique in that they actually give you slight painting guide in the back. They kind of give you basic colour guides if you want to paint it similar. You can paint it however you want, really. But these are specific knights you're painting, and they do give you a slight painting guide. And what's really unique is that for the Canis Rex, they actually give you specific decal call-outs as well, which is something that never normally happens in the Games Workshop kit. They don't do this. They might give you 1 or 2 colour pictures, but they don't normally go through all this detail, especially with the decals, to tell you what goes where. So that's kind of cool. But we're going to make it up. But yes, we're going to paint it like this. It's not going to look exactly the same because we are going to dirty it up, or whether it's probably hundreds of years old, if not older. I want it to look like it's been well maintained, but that it is hundreds of years old. So there we go. And it is unusual, and it's got a dark frame, which I'm not quite sure on. We might have to. It says it's supposed to be black with Dark Reaper, Thunderhawk Blue, and Blue Horror as the coats, but I don't know about. I don't like either of a black frame. I prefer a metallic frame, but we'll see how it goes. I might customize it a bit. And of course, we've got a painting guide for Sir Hector. So there you go. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get it built first off. I shall have a quick look at chat in a minute, but that's instructions. Let's see what else we get as I knock the camera again. Now, of course, being an Imperial Knight kit, you get a lot of plastic. You get all of this, all of this, all of this, all of these, all of these. You get the base. How low can you go? And you get a little base for Sir Hector. Of course, the decal sheet, which I'll get in a second. Oops. But in terms of the parts, they are standard Games Workshop, beautifully sculpted, crisp, clear, detailed parts. If you've never built a Games Workshop kit before, save for one or two of the really, really old ones, they are a joy to build. They're a joy to paint. They're designed to be overly detailed and have over-etched raised details on them, just because they're more likely going to be brush painted. Joy to paint. They really are. They just lend themselves perfectly to brush painting. Now, what we have here, these are all the standard sprues, I think, for Imperial Knights. This is your standard sprue stuff. This is what you get in the other Night Warden kit. It's not a complicated lots of parts build. And then we have a specific sprue. The difference between this and the Night Warden kit is we have this sprue here, which is all the extra bits. You have a cockpit, which you've never had before. You have the Las Impulsor, and you have parts for Sir Hector. Both seated and walkabouty mode, as he's seated in the cockpit as well. You can put him in the cockpit, or you can put him walking about, or you can have both. I'm going to have both, because why not? I don't know if you can see here, but the detail on these bits is incredible. The crisp detail, you'll see better when I'm filming it properly, and it's not on webcam, but like just the cockpit, everything in the cockpit is raised and perfectly sort of molded. You very rarely get flash or mismoldings on Games Workshop kits. They are just some of the best engineered kits I've ever seen. If you've never made a Games Workshop kit, for the love of dog, get yourself one, even a cheapy one. Just get yourself one, because they are second only to Bandai in engineering. They are the glue together kit equivalent of Bandai in terms of engineering and precision and quality. They really are beautiful to make and paint. So that's all the bits. Let me put them back in the box. Now the pricing of these kits is a bit weird. If you've never been involved in Games Workshop before, the pricing of these things is a bit strange. It's not like a normal model kit. In that, a normal model kit, the price is determined based on, how big it is, how many parts there are, how much it costs them to manufacture it. Games Workshop's a bit different. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Games Workshop's a bit different. The price of a kit depends on, partially on how big it is and how much it costs them to make it, but it actually depends on how expensive it is to play in the game. So, for example, an Imperial Knight or a Baneblade tank or something else might be, 70 or 80 quid, whereas a Valkyrie flyer, like a troop carrier, is a bigger kit and more complicated but costs less. Because an Imperial Knight, if you're playing the game, the tabletop game, you have so many points, and you have to use those points to allocate all your troops. You can have, if you've got 2,000 points, you can have 2,000 troops worth 1 point each, or you can have 4 troops worth 500 points each, or whatever you want to do. You can balance it out. You have a set budget for points. Imperial Knights are quite expensive in points, so you can't have a lot of them in your army if it's a 2,000 or 3,000 point game. So because they know you can't field loads and loads of these, you're probably not going to buy loads and loads of these, so they charge more for them. Whereas if you've got a kit that's inexpensive in the game, like a Valkyrie or a tank of some sort, you may be able to have lots of them in game, so they want you to buy lots of them, so the price is less. So when you're buying a Games Workshop kit, do keep that in mind. The price doesn't necessarily tell you how complicated or detailed the kit is or how big it is. It's very weird, but it kind of works out. Now, in the case of a knight, you're actually getting a really big, nice honking kit. It works out really nicely. You do get a lot of plastic for your money, so it kind of works out quite nicely. But yeah, it's kind of weird to get your head around it. Sometimes a big, massive model can be cheaper than a small model. You get there. You figure it out. But in the case of this knight, it's more than worth it. Because you can build, if you were to magnetize it, you could build all 7 variants out of this one kit. We also have the decal sheet, beautiful details for all the different knights. You've got the Canis Rex specific ones, you've got ones for House Terrain, House Hawkshroud, House I can't read that one, Cadmus, House Canis, and House Raven. There's different knight houses from different planets and different worlds, and all different markings that mean things to them. But this is going to be this is a free blade, so he's got his own specific markings. And if he's a free blade, it means he can go with any army. He's not beholden to one specific house or army. Lots of decals. Now I have to say, again, if you've not built a Games Workshop kit before, GW decals are second only to proper cartograph decals. Cartograph decals are just the best water slide decals in the world. If your kit's got cartograph decals, often Revell kits often have cartograph decals. If your kit has cartograph decals, they are the best in the world. No one comes close. The one that does come closest, bizarrely, is Games Workshop. When you think Games Workshop's been around for 30 odd years and they're primarily a tabletop gaming company, they make some of the best models. Their kit quality and decal quality blows other manufacturers out of the water, whose names I shall not mention. So, you're not made a Games Workshop kit, just go and get something. But yeah, their decals are second only to cartograph. They are beautiful. I love putting those decals on. They're a little bit thick, but they're really hard wearing. So we'll put that over there. Right, so let's have a quick look at chat and then we'll get cracking. Yes, Princeps, says Mayhem. That's the word. I couldn't think of the name. 40k Universe Titans and all massive war machines are powered by AI, but only the most adept can operate the machines without having a meltdown, says Mayhem. Yes, they're not... In the universe of Warhammer 40,000, AI is forbidden because AI and advanced intelligent robots led to the downfall of man the first time at the end of the dark age of technology, and that's why humanity is now in this kind of strange primitive state where it can use old technology and it can recreate it, but it can't create new technology because it's not allowed. So AI, the sort of the hardware, the software in Imperial Knights is about as advanced as AI gets. It's not quite true AI, but it's not dumb enough to not. It just kind of skirts the line. But in the case of Canis Rex, it seems to something weird happened. Nobody knows. When a Titan or Knight is down, then it's a rare machine. They will fight in tooth and nail to get them back because of millennia of knowledge and tactics will be lost. Yet all the knowledge of the previous pilots and Princeps is stored inside them. It's fascinating. If you read up on the lore of Imperial Knights, they are fascinating. A lot of the Warhammer lore is so deep, it's fantastic. Johnny's in, working on some Fenrisian wolves alongside of my Spitfire Mark 11, says Johnny. Welcome, Johnny. Fenrisian wolves, they're not actually wolves. Look up the lore, they're not wolves. It's kind of creepy, but they're not wolves. Candygram says, greetings, everyone. This kit's going to be a treat to watch being built and painted. Cool, thank you very much. I hope so. Mayhem says, you should check out Lutin on YouTube. He's got 40k lore all over, especially when it comes to Titans and why things are not invented and only made of STC. Yes, Lutin, Lutin09, I think it is. Lutin's a great channel. He basically explains the lore behind Warhammer, and it's really good stuff. The idea is that after the fall of human civilization, humans were at one point in like 20 or 30,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago. This is in the future, in the 30th millennium. They were the most advanced species in the galaxy. Technologically, they were up there with the best. Then there was a war between machines and the humans. The AI became too clever and too advanced. There was a war between humans and machines, and humanity was reduced to just medieval levels of technology. But some knowledge remained. Now, in the 40k universe, because AI is not permitted, and there's religious nonsense that got embedded around a lot of the lore, they are dependent on STC, standard template constructs, basically repositories of knowledge of how things were built before the fall of in the dark age of technology, before the fall of the human civilization, and they can reproduce this stuff. So if they can find an STC how to make something, they can make it, but they're not permitted to develop new stuff, although they kind of do. It's very, very kind of vague. So that's why they will build new knights, but they can't build new knights. They're just using the STC patterns that say, here's how you build a knight, and it just creates a knight. It's like having a 3D printer with the knowledge of all the things it's ever made, stored in it and how to make things. You find it and you can print things that are already stored in it, but you can't invent new stuff. That's why humanity now is fighting all around the galaxy with this ancient looking technology. Imperial Knights are ancient. They're thousands of years old. It's all cool. So go and look it up though. Look up the lore. It's fantastic. Anyway. Just waiting for B3 to appear as they're agreeable, says Mayhem. He'll be here. Let's have a look. William Rayburn says, I want one, but I can't afford 150 plus for a kit. It's worth saving up for. It's one of those kits they are really good. Of course, that's American or Canadian, isn't it? I assume well, then again, I don't know if William's talking about this kit or something else, of course. Could be talking about something else. Where are we up to? I think that's everyone in chat. Irony, the functioning STC machine is powered by AI. Yeah, true. The whole lore of how stuff was made in the past reminds me slightly of the TV series Tripods. I don't remember enough about Tripods. But yes, it's quite fascinating how they're not supposed to invent new things. They can only recreate old technology using the STC template patterns, but they kind of do new stuff. Occasionally. Now, it's not going to be a complicated build, so we might only get 2 or 3 live streams out of this. It might not be a long thing. And I do not know when I'm going to get around to painting this. As I say, I'm going to wait till they've got more stuff in stock. So we shall see. We shall see. Now, we're going to start with Snippety and getting things off sprues. So, I'm going to need all the sprues. Let me just make an adjustment here. 1 second. I'm going to put this there and that's... Move that over there. Should have been prepared, really. Just moving a little table over there so I can put my sprues on it. I'm going to put the decals over to one side and keep them safe, out of harm's way. Anyway, hope everyone is okay. How is everyone? I hope you're all doing fine and dandy. 77 cents. I need legs. You need legs. Now, thankfully, all the parts are fairly easy to spot on the sprues. You have 1 sprue of legs, 1 sprue of weapons, 1 sprue of torso, 1 sprue of bit. Fairly straightforward. Now, I do have the chat in front of me. I'll move the camera. Actually, I'll move the camera now. I may have to readjust the focus. Let's get down and dirty. Let's get down and dirty. Let's not say that again. This is a very heavy instruction book. I'm going to double check my focus. That's looking kind of focused. Let me just adjust it. I know the camera's wobbling. Bear with me. Bear with me. Probably about right. Where's my centre point? That's not bad, actually. That's a good guess, that, Fox. That was a good guess. That's a pretty good guess, that. Right, so let me know if it goes out of focus. I think we'll be fine. I've got the chair in front of me. If you want to get my attention, please do. Give me things to talk about. Please put your comment in big fat capital letters, because once I've got my lenses down, it's hard for me to actually make out the chat. So put your comment in big fat capital letters. Or if you want to, you can do a super chat by pressing the dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window. That also highlights your comment so I can see it. Right, so let's crack on. Not that kind of adjustment, Fox. Yeah, Mayhem said. Right, so we want 77 and 78. We're going to get the pieces off the sprue first, roughly. 77 and 78 is what we need first of all. 77 and 78. Now, if you've not made a Warhammer, a Games Workshop kit before, the one thing you'll learn is that in some of the older kits, they don't even number the parts. You find your way through it eventually. But unlike Bandai kits, where they're all laid out logically on the sprue, you don't get that with Games Workshop. They're all over the place. 75, 76, 78, 77, yeah. So you may have to do a bit, you'll find me doing a bit of hunt and peck typing, but for sprue pieces. I'll be hunting around for bits that I'm trying to find them on the sprue. But yeah, there might be a bit of a cursing and swearing going on. So 76 and 70, and I didn't even need that part. I needed 76 and 78, you fool. With that, 77 and 78. I've got the wrong pieces off the sprue anyway. Great start there, folks. Well done. That's that piece. I want 70. Oh no, I did get the right parts. 77 and 78. Yes. I thought I was doing it right. There you go. See, Fox, it wasn't that hard. So what we need to do, we also need 59, 60 and 56. We want 59, 60 and 56. Yes, so anyway, I hope you're all well. I hope anyone joining us today is having a good day today. Nearly weekend. Like I said, I do know this is on a Friday afternoon, so I don't expect millions of people to turn up. But I expect, we'll have a decent turnout. 59 and 60 are the little gibbety points here, so we'll get them snipped off. And I appreciate I'm doing this bit off camera because I'm having to hold up the spoon up to knock the camera. I shall do my best to be on camera for the whole programme. Right, so that's those 4 parts. Now, I've made a couple of knights and they are good fun to make. They're jolly good fun. They're not, I have to say as well, when it comes to painting an Imperial Knight, Imperial Knights are probably one of the easiest paint jobs in all of Warhammer. Absolutely they are. They're not as complicated as you think they might be. They're big and they've got lots of bits going on, but they're not actually as complicated as you think. They're one of the easiest paint jobs. Now, I may have some artistic license with Canis Rex here. I'm not convinced about painting the, if you're a Gumpler builder, what I would call the inner frame. I'm not convinced about painting the frame under the armour black. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Not that sure. That's a nub. I'm going to clean off all the bits so far. I don't know if I'm going to do that black. I don't know. I'm going to do that. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. But we'll see. I might go for it. I might not. But I am going to make it more dirty and used than it shows on the box art. The thing about Warhammer box art, Warhammer 40k box art, is that it's very rarely shown as worn and weathered. And even though in Warhammer lore, a lot of the technology is hundreds or thousands of years old, like every tank or vehicle could be hundreds of years old. They're never really shown as very weathered. Sometimes with a little bit of chipping on them or something. But now Forge World stuff. Forge World is the resin side of Warhammer, resin kit side. They're often weathered. Games Workshop stuff, not. But we're going to do that. Now I do have to apologise if I'm a bit sniffly. Those of you who know me know that the moment the camera starts turning on, the lights go on, I need to drink coffee. The moment the lights go on, my voice goes hoarse and my nose gets the sniffles. I don't know why. On this day, 47 years ago, I was born, says William Rayborn. Happy birthday, William Rayborn. Happy birthday to you. Why are you watching this on your birthday? You should be having cake and jelly and stuff. Mayhem says, professional as ever, Fox. What did I do? What did I do? I died again as I'm playing Diablo 3 on Switch and watching you on half my TV screen, says Athel. Dope. On this day, 40 years ago, the Sinclair ZX81 computer was released for sale. The computer with a whopping 1K of RAM was the first computer I purchased. My brother went out and bought one. Yeah, we had one here. I need to clear my throat again. 1 second. I don't know why I always get the hoarser voice the moment I start doing recording. Yes, so we had a ZX81 here. My brother got it just for coding and writing code and stuff, and then never really did. In fact, he went to the shop, bought one, brought it back, and the box was empty, so we had to go right back and say, this box got nothing in it. Yeah, he wasn't amused. Right, now this is a 2-part piece. It has curvity-turvity edges. Now, those of you who watch me regularly will know what I'm about to do now, so this is old news to some of you. What you want to do, if you've never done this before, or if you're new to model making, you want to try and get rid of this gap where the 2 parts go together. You want it to look like a single piece of metal, and it's very, very easy. I do recommend you get yourself either the Citadel mold line removal tool, which is available for me models. If not in stock right now, it will be available. Or any kind of rigid non-knife blade scraping tool. Other tools are available. And you want to get yourself some Tamiya extra thin or similar extra thin glue. Because what we're going to do is an old Gumpler trick. I haven't cleaned off the nubs, you'll notice. I've trimmed them a little bit, but I've not cleaned them away yet. There's a very good reason for that. What I intend on doing first is getting some clamps. Clampety clamp, clampety clamp. Clampety clamp. Getting me extra thin open. Now the reason I'm using extra thin here is because it's going to allow me to do what I need to do here, which is get glue in the gap. I'm going to basically feed Tamiya extra thin glue into this gap. I'm not using a fat glue, and I'll explain why in a second. Now, those of you who watch me regularly, you know what I'm doing. This is old news to you. This is not new news at all. But I am allergic to using fillers on models, primarily because I'm completely lazy, and I really can't be bothered going all in with fillers and things. It's a pain in the bum. Can't be bothered with that nonsense. Not when, for so many different reasons, you don't need to use thinners. Explain to you why. We're going to get some extra thin down into this gap. Not totally easy, but it's not completely tricky. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do it on half it so far. Now it's had a few seconds for the plastic to melt. It's a welding cement. It melts the plastic. So I'm going to squeeze it together. Now it's had a few seconds. I'm just going to squeeze this side together. And what you'll see is a little bead of plastic bubbling up. This is the plastic that the glue has melted in between the two pieces, bubbling up. I want to squeeze those together. I'll do the same on this bit, this piston here. Got some clamps here because I'll need to clamp these bits. We're just squeezing the two halves together so that the gloopy liquid plastic that's melted in the middle can splurge out and basically effectively fill the gap. Now this only works on tiny gaps, but you're using the plastic of the kit to fill itself. That's what you're effectively doing. Because I'm completely lazy, and one of the reasons I do what I do with my own videos and stuff, remodels, is I try to show people how to make models. That's my role in life, to show people how to make stuff and paint stuff. Now, I'm a painter, not a builder. I find the building side of things boring. My interest is in the painting. But unfortunately, the building is a necessary evil. You've got to do it to get to the painting stage. So, being someone that prefers painting, I'd much rather try and find quick and easy ways to do the building that aren't complicated and time-consuming. Partially because I am lazy, but partially because, again, I don't enjoy the building part. So if I can make the process faster and easier, happy times for me. I'll clamp those. That's not even clamping that at all, is it? Yeah, near enough. Grip on it. That's a rubbish clamp, that is. Clamp that together. Yeah. So if I can avoid a lot of work but get the same results as somebody who puts a lot of work in, I will. So, there'll be people that'll put these together and then they'll get all this putty and they'll fill the gap with putty and they'll sand it back. You don't need to. It's a tiny gap. You can fill it simply with the glue. So I've squeezed that together. The glue has splooged out. Only a tiny amount. It's a tiny bead of glue around the middle. We need to leave that now for a little while to do its magic. Yeah, paying special attention to these piston parts because these need to be shiny pistons later on, so you don't want to be having lots of rough texture on them. Now, I'm not going to get everywhere. I've not got down the middle of this like rubber piping, for example, because that will just make it look really messy. I've left that, but that's fine. We got that bit. But the reason I've not cleaned up the nubs just yet is because when this is dried enough, what we need to do is basically scrape or sand this bead of glue back. You've got basically two pieces of plastic. Let me get you've got two pieces of plastic, you put them together like that, you put some glue between the gap, that melts a little bit, and when you push them together, the glue splooges out. It fills this gap, but it also splooges out here. It makes a little bead over the top, like a little rivet shape. And what you do is you sand it away, and you're just left with flat sealed surface because the plastic has expanded and filled the gap. You filled it with itself. And of course, it's now bonded together forever because extra thin glue, it welds the pieces together. So we're going to leave that for a little while. But when we when we come to sand that or scrape it back, however we get rid of that bead of glue, we'll also take the nubs away as well. Because if I've got two halves of something, if I want to put these two pieces together like that, and I've got a nub here and a nub here, right on either side, or a nub on one side, if I try and trim the nub away now, then when I put them together, they may not line up because I'll have sanded too much away. So if you ever got like a cylinder shape or something like that, get it together first and then sand the nub away so you can at least keep it flat, or if it's a cylinder you can keep it cylindrical. You keep the round curved surface. You don't risk just making an uneven step, which is what you can do because you'll sand different halves at different rates. Where are we? So let's get these bits cleaned up. Now these bits we can clean up properly because they're not being joined together with anything. I will do my best to hang out with you guys and chat and react, but remember, if you want to get my attention, please put your comment in capital letters so I have a chance to see it, because that's all a blur now. Or if you want to, like I say, you can do a super chat by pressing the dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window. You don't have to do that. Make sure to put it in all caps, or just at. I think you'd have to at. I don't think I'm signed into this chat as eModels, so I don't think atting eModels will actually become visible to me. Scrape that way with the knife. We'll just use the scraping tool just to smooth that down a bit more. I don't want to particularly sand them because I don't want to sand them flat or sand them away. Scraping tool is a good way to get rid of any little tiny rough bits or nubs. Nubs. I will go with a little bit of sandy just to gently smooth that off. Now these are the feet parts near the ground, so I'm not worried about making them museum quality smooth and tidy here because they are going to be covered in dirt and dust. But that's not an excuse for me to just leave them, you know, half baked. I need to make them nice, but I don't need to worry or lose too much sleep about them being perfect. These little bracing joints here. Now these are quite tricky, so I'm going to use a file for these. They're just little wide joints, little bracing joints. I just want to get the nub off the little end piece here. Can you see that? Yeah. Nub off the end. I want to keep it flat. Just very gently file that, which is a very quick and easy way of getting it filed away but keeping it flat. There is also a mould line right down the middle of it, which we'll need to tidy up. If you can even see on camera how big these parts are, they're kind of tiny. Fine. They're not tiny when you compare them to some of the parts you have on the perfect grade Millennium Falcon. Let's put it that way. But the reason I'm using the file here is the file's a little bit faster than a sanding sponge, but I want to keep the edge flat and straight. So if I use a sanding sponge, it's going to curve and bend and it won't give me a flat surface. A file is rigid, it doesn't flex and bend, so I can make sure I keep that surface flat. Now there is a mould line going all the way around the middle of it, so what I need to do, come with my scraping tool, just very gently scrape that mould line away. If you haven't got any kind of scraping tool, be it the Citadel one or any other tool, get yourself one. They are a godsend. Not only are they great for getting rid of mould lines, little raised mould lines you get on things very quickly, they're also good at leveling, flattening. If you do get a step in two pieces that go together and they're not quite level, flattening them out, you can do it very quickly. But the godsend of these is because it's a rigid steel blade and not a flexible scalpel blade, it leaves a very smooth surface that doesn't require or requires very little, if any, sanding afterwards. Like that, I could leave that as it is now, but I'll give it a quick tickle. If you did that with a knife blade, the knife blade can skitter and jump and bend as it goes along the surface, and it'll leave imperfections and scratches and scrapes. whereas this blade doesn't bend. It's just flat. It's just a 90-degree flat edge. If I drag it along a surface, it's going to be smooth. When I did the Eagle Transporter, I had to clean the mould lines off every single bit of piping and tubing on the framework around all the modules. And it took a long time, but I did it with one of these. I did it with this. And it was a vastly faster process than if I'd used a knife blade or tried to sand it away. Because I didn't have to do the cleanup. I literally went around the edge of the tubes and it got rid of the mould line, and I didn't even have to sand it. Clean it up. So it does leave a wonderfully smooth surface. And you'll see later on when we clean that, we're getting rid of glue beads. You just like that, and it will give you a nice smooth surface. It just avoids any of the scrapes and scratches that knife blades can put in there. Some people are happy using knife blades, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, again, with me being... I wouldn't say that I hate the building part of the process. It's not that I'm not interested in the building part of the process. I do enjoy sometimes the build, part of a build. I enjoy building Games Workshop stuff because they go together so well. But it's not what I'm here for. I'm a painter. I'm a painter and weatherer. I'm really here for the painting and the weathering. I'm not really here for the building. To me, it's a necessary evil. But I will sit and suffer. I'd rather avoid it if I could. Right, so what I can't do yet is clean up. I need that glue to set for a good while yet. So what I'm going to have to do is put that there. We'll skip ahead a little bit. I'll get all the bits I need because we've got to make our leg. Then we've got to make our other leg. But we need that to dry for a while. So I'll get these two pistons cleaned up and I'll get the foot cleaned up as well. We'll get all these bits together and then we'll move on to getting all the bits ready for the next leg. And then by the time we've done that one, we can go back and clean that one up. So we need parts 57, 58 and 55. But it is important that I keep these separate now because they're chiral. There's a left and right. I don't want to get my left leg on the right foot. Yeah, that's not ideal. 55. Foot of the Titan. 55, 57 and 58. 57 and also 58. Where is 58? So it's 54. 50. Doesn't help that they're not in actually any order. 57's there. Big piston, yes. 57 and 58, which is there. I have it. Ich haben. Yes, so anyway, I hope you're all well and happy and fine and dandy. I shall ask the question that is always asked. I don't think Scaly Models is in chat at the moment. So the question, of course, is the question we always ask, which is bench and belly. What's on your bench? What are you working on right now? What's your current project? Belly, what's in your belly? What are you having for your dinner? What have you had for your dinner? Oops, pink. Just need to quickly check something. 1 second. Bench and belly. Obviously, right now I'm making this. But I'm only going to be making this while I'm building this. I'm only building this on these live streams. We'll do these every Friday, although next Friday I might not be able to. We'll do these each Friday. I normally stream Fallout 4 on a Friday afternoon, but I'm sacrificing that on my channel to do this. Just for the next few weeks till we get this built. It'll keep us going until we can get around to painting it. And belly, I don't know what I'm having for dinner, but for lunch I had a bowl of soba noodles with a teriyaki sauce and some spring onions chopped up and sprinkled in. I do like noodles. They were instant ramen noodles, proper soba noodles, but like instant now. Pack it with sauces and stick them in a pan. Cook them properly. Not pot noodles. They were proper Japanese soba noodles. That was very nice. Full of noodly goodness, yes. Now these are the foot bits, and again I'm going to use the file because these are sort of armour plates that go around the bottom. Now, when it comes to painting these will be gold or silver. These are gold. The main theme of this knight suit is lots of bare shiny metals, or at least originally bare shiny metals. So, unlike a normal knight, which I could make really, really battered, I want to have some neatness to these. So I don't want to sand them so that all these bits become, because this will be gold. These bits will be shiny gold trim. Now they will be covered in mud and dirt because they're on the floor, but I still want them to stand out a bit as shiny gold trim. And as we know, in real life, gold doesn't weather. It can be damaged, but it doesn't actually weather. It doesn't corrode or tarnish. So technically, other than dust and dirt, when it comes to weathering this, there'll be no chipping or anything on the gold. It's gold. It will stay shiny. You could bury it underground for 1,000 years, pull it out, and it'll still be gold and shiny. So I've got rid of most of the nub area with the file. I'm going over with this sanding sponge, but I'm only going over really lightly. Really, I'm not even putting any pressure on. This is just not to get rid of the nub, but just to smooth away any little sanding marks from any filing marks from the file, scratch marks. So just hold it up to the light and make sure it looks nice and smooth. Yep, that's pretty good. Looks nice and smooth. I can still see a little discoloration, but that's not a textured nub. That's just where plastic's been distressed when I've cut it, so that's fine. So thankfully there's no mould line on this piece. I don't think. Nope. That one. That there. And then these two pistons. Pistons, you'll say. These are cylindrical, so I've got to be careful. Now there is a mould line on here, so I'm going to take it off. I'm not going to take these nubs off all the way because the mould line removal tool will get rid of the last vestiges of them. I'm going to get rid of most of it. But I want to make sure I maintain the curve of the cylinder. I don't want to flatten off the edge, so I've got to be really careful now. So, knife away for safety purposes. Get rid of this mould line, and I'm putting on no pressure here. I'm just being really gentle. I'm using the weight of the tool itself, and I'm just running it along the mould line. It's a very fine bead of plastic, in the same way that when we squished the two halves of this together, of that leg together, the glue splooged out. When this is made in the factory, in the moulding machine, the plastic is injected into the mould, but some of it may escape the little tiny gap between the two pieces of the mould. A microscopic little strand or bead of plastic, so it's very fine, it's very tiny, and you don't need to scrape violently at it. It'll just a gentle rub from the removal tool is usually all you need to get rid of it, and a quick little sand from a sanding sponge. Just run that along there. I'll give it a touch with the sanding sponge. I'm using the Ultimate Modelling Products sanders, available in store. I think they should be available in store, unless they're out of stock. Do keep in mind, of course, that pretty much most of the stuff I'm going to use here today and through these streams will be available at eModels. If you can't find it on the website, though, don't panic. There'll be either something else that you can get instead, or it may just be whatever you're looking for is just out of stock. Because when something's not in stock, it doesn't appear on the website. So if you can't find it, just be patient. It'll arrive fairly soon back in stock. Normally, I would say just drop the guys an email to ask them when it'll be back in stock. But of course, with everything being the way it is at the minute, Chocolate Velociraptor and the store being closed to the public, they're focusing on getting orders processed. So it may just be a case of being patient, giving them time for the stock to come back in. That's that one done. I've got a finer sponge. I've not got a finer sponge, but I've got an old one of the same sanding sponge that's gone smooth because it's been used so much. Handy tip, when you've got sanding sponges, don't throw them away when they get a bit soft and smooth. They come in handy. So these two are the same. This one's fresh, this one's old, this one's got a bit of texture to it, this one's smooth, this can polish that. This can do the sanding, this can do the polishing. I do have polishing ones, I just haven't got them here to hand right now. So there we go, that's that bit cleaned up. Now there is a mould line. I don't know if you'll see on camera. There's little sort of ribbing here on this piston housing. There is a mould line down between those three ribs. And I can't get this tool in there to clean that, and I can't get the sanding sponge in there. So this is where my scriber, my Tamiya Mark II scriber comes in, because I can get this between the little raised bits, and it's not going to be perfect, but I can use it just very gently to scrape that mould line away a little bit, just to remove any sort of hint of it. Now I can get the sponge in there a little bit. I can get the edge of it in. It's not perfect, but it's just enough to smooth off what I've just scraped away. Because when you're cleaning up mould lines and nubs and things like that, you have to keep in mind that even though it looks nice and smooth to you now in bare plastic, the moment you put a primer coat on this, if there's any hint of a mould line or a nub or a seam remaining, the primer will light it up like a lighthouse, like a beacon. So keep that in mind. A lot of people think that when you do a primer coat, it's purely to let the paint stick to the surface. It is, but the secondary function of a primer coat is to let you see any imperfections that you need to mop up. So let's go this one instead. A bit better. There's a little bit of mould line down there, but I can't quite get my sander in there, so we'll just scrape that. This is also a handy tool if you've got like a raised crisp edge. Hear a noise then. You've got a crisp edge, maybe you've sanded it a bit smooth. When you've been cleaning up, you can rescribe it just to make it look a bit more crisp and sharp. That's that piston done. Do this one. Now, I said earlier on that I'm not a big fan of the building part of the process. I'm a painter. But I have to say, Games Workshop kits are so much fun to build and a joy to clean up. So effortless that I do actually sometimes enjoy the clean up and build process for Games Workshop stuff. Not always. I do like cleaning their figures. I do enjoy that. But like if you give me a tack-on tank or a dragon armored vehicle or a plane kit or something like that, I'm not going to enjoy the build part because it holds no interest for me. Building is just gluing stuff together and cleaning stuff up. It's not the part that interests me. There's no creativity involved for me personally. So, but in these, I actually find it relaxing. I don't know why. I think it's because they're just so friendly and they go together so nicely that it's very rare that, not everyone, but very rare that a GW kit will give me any hassle in the building process. So I can just kind of zone out, stick a few podcasts on, and just have fun. When it comes to the figures, I actually and really enjoy making the figures and cleaning them up. I don't know why. It's just nice podcast time, basically. But give me like a Revell boat or a trumpeter plane or something. I won't enjoy that at all because it's not what I do. I'm not a builder. I'm a painter. Because you're going to be one of three. If you're into models, you're one of three kind of things. You're either a builder, you're a painter, or you're both. There are people that love the building part and don't enjoy the painting part, like Steve at B3. He's more a fan of the building and scratch building than he is the actual painting. You've got the people who enjoy painting but not so much building, like me. And then you've got people that enjoy both of it, and they really get their value for money. Because whereas I might, not rush my way through the build, but I'll just shortcut my way through the building process if I'm not enjoying it. Somebody who enjoys the building process and the painting process gets to have fun twice. Not always the case if you prefer one over the other. Coming up. If I have missed any little mould lines and stuff, I'll see when I prime it. I've got to be especially vigilant on these pistons though, not on the piston housing here, on the valve, whatever that's called, the bit the piston goes in. But the actual piston shaft, that's going to be like, because it's a hydraulic piston shaft, it's going to be clean, shiny metal compared to the rest of it. So I need to make sure that is as smooth as a baby's bottom when it comes to painting, and not covered in sanding marks or scraping marks or anything like that, because it needs to look nice and clean. If you look at any kind of piston, the piston shaft itself is always shiny and clean. Well, shiny and not corroded. That's those two done. So that is all the parts for one leg. I think the right leg. What we shall do now, while that's still gluing in there, I shall put that over there to one side. All the bits for that leg. I shall put it over here. I shall have a swig of the coffees and have a look at chat. I shall wipe my nose because I've got the sniffles. Of course I have. I always have the sniffles. Ah. Quick look at chat. La, 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 la. Back in 73, says Athol, I was posted to a mobile radar unit and our computers took up a whole room approximately 35 by 20 feet. Yeah, those were the days. Mayhem says, Death Dread and a big bass guitar. My first was an Amstrad 464 in 1984, says David Sanderson. EC says, happy birthday to William Rayborn, as to everybody else. Mayhem's first PC was 87. It was the Commodore 64 128K. That's not a PC. That's a Commodore 64. PCs were like, doesn't really count as a PC, that, I suppose. PC is more your desktop, your base box and your monitor and stuff. I don't think they really count as PCs, things like Commodores and stuff. My own personal first ever computer, myself personally, that I owned, was an Amiga 500. But before that, we had other stuff. We had like a Spectrum. Oh no, it was a Spectrum Plus 48K. Then I got an Amiga. But we had Spectrums and stuff and ZX81s in the house. We had an Atari 400 and things like that. But my first actual computer was a Spectrum 48K. ECIO used to program in AppleSoft Basic. I think I'm here. Morning all, says Muse. Welcome, Muse. Sarah Jane says she drank all Muse's coffee, and Muse says, if you drank my coffee, you'll be on the moon for days. Cake will be tomorrow, says William. We'll be celebrating my dad's, my twin sisters, and my birthday. That's an expensive family. Birthday all at the same time. Boxing Scale says, hello, colleagues. Good luck in assembly. Apologise for my English. I write through a translator. Greetings from Russia. Well, thank you for coming in, Boxing Scale. Your English is, your translating software is fine. So welcome and thank you for watching. If you don't enjoy building kits, Fox, you best put together snap-fit kits. I love building Bandai kits. I absolutely adore them because I can just put them together and then paint them. But I still do traditional kits. But it's not that I don't enjoy it. Like I said, I do enjoy building the Warhammer stuff because it goes together so nicely. I just want to get to the painting, really. My new decal solution should be here today, so I can try not to spill it. Yes. Don't spill it. Mayhem says we're on Stabbiting Edition Yellow. Fox has the knife out. I'll quickly whiz through the chat a little bit. Painting is the worst part of modelling by far, says Sarah Jane. Yeah, but you do shiny cars, so that's natural that you hate the painting process. I do scruffy weather things, so I can have fun. Bench says, raging model, I just finished my Orc Boy, so tomorrow I'll start my Death Dread. Belly, I'm just having toast. Eat more. Athol says, 50 Space Wolves on the bench, combat units plus and belly will be spare ribs, Chinese style, lovely. Stack of boxes on my bench, big box in front of it and not have my coffee or anything yet, says Muse. There's something on my glasses, I can see it. Sarah Jane's having a big slap up meal plus kebab and chips later with Malibu. Ooh, yes. Clean my lenses again. I can't see anything. I've got my glasses on. Hang on. There we go. I can read again now. Scale Modelling Chaos is in. Afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Oh, it jumped. I may miss some stuff. Paul Di Damaso is in. Welcome, Paul. Hello, hello, my friend. I wonder if Cubus Maximus, I wonder if the Games Workshop model scraper works on normal kits too. Absolutely. it's just a plastic scraper. It's not specific to Games Workshop kits. I use this on everything. This is just, there are different versions of this, but it's just our tool. Works on any plastic. So absolutely, it works on resin as well. Absolutely, you can use this for anything. I think the Games Workshop plastic is a bit softer than normal plastics. It's box standard polystyrene. It's a little bit softer than, say, Bandai plastic in terms of squidginess, but it's not quite as soft and floppy as Airfix plastic, which is just made out of, I don't know, marshmallow or something. But yes, you can use it on anything. I use it on Gunpla and on all kinds of kits. I had a Spectrum 128K plus 3 disk drive version, which is still my parents' loft. I actually threw out a Atari 400 a few years ago, and then about a month later I was like, oh God, why did I throw that out? I could have sold that. I kind of wasn't paying attention, I just kind of threw it out. So. Sorry, I am in the place of shopping idiots everywhere, says Mayhem. People talking about Canada, which is correct, because Canada's awesome. I've never been to Canada. I should go one day. One day I will go to Canada. Right, so we've done one leg. Let's do the other leg. Get all the bits out, and then we can get the two halves glued together, and then we can go back to the first leg. So 76 and 75. 76 and 70. This will be easier now because we've only got the bits we need on the sprue. 76 and 75. 76, 75. Now, I'm a little stuck for things to talk about because there's no news I can give you of anything. Like I said before, I don't actually work for E-Models. I'm not au fait of their stock or anything like that, so I can't tell you what's going on. And it's not the time or place to shout about my own stuff on this channel. My own channel. So I shall not. Do keep in mind, folks, though, just a little update for you. Due to the current lockdown and everything else, as we've said before on the live show and other places, E-Models at the moment are running things a little bit differently. The phone lines are turned off. The guys are on very limited skeleton staff. Occasionally it's just James by himself. And they are getting an excess of orders because obviously everyone's stuck at home. They've got a massive influx of people ordering stuff, and their absolute priority right now at E-Models is to get all those orders processed and shipped and sent as quickly as possible, so that when you order something, you're not waiting for a long time for it to turn up. Those two. So if you do place an order at emodels.co.uk, please do. They'll love you if you do. Please go and spend lots of money. When you do place an order, please do allow a little extra longer than normal, just in case. As I say, it may well be James on his own, and he might have 200 or 300 orders to process, pick and pack and ship. So it may take a little longer for him to pick it and pack it and get it ready to go out. There are also delays with the couriers actually turning up to collect parcels as well. That's a little harder to be sorting out. That's everything there. So just be a little patient. If you get a notification saying your order is ready for shipping, please don't assume it is. When they pick and pack an order, the system automatically puts it into your order's going to be shipped. Here's your tracking number, because that's normally what happens. It's like the same day. So it generates a tracking number for you. However, if you get the mail saying you've got a tracking number, please don't assume that you actually have tracking number. It won't work because it's just the system automatically generating that. It doesn't mean it's been collected by the courier yet. So allow a little longer than normal, just to give the guys time to do what they need to do. Don't know where that went to. Never mind. And if you do need to, please avoid, if you've been waiting a day or two, please avoid chasing up your order by email. They've turned the phones off because they haven't got time to answer the phones or take orders over the phone, because again, trying to prioritize dealing with the orders they've got. But if James is sitting there all day taking queries via email, while he's doing your email, he's not packing your order. So again, a gun, that, isn't it? Again, Just be patient. It may take a day or two extra, so just be patient. If you've placed an order, it will get processed, it will get packed, it will get shipped. Don't worry. If there's any kind of problem with the order, eModels would contact you anyway. So if you place an order and you don't hear anything from eModels, just assume it's being sorted out. It's just taking a bit longer than normal. Because like I say, if everyone places an order and then sends James an email saying, I ordered this thing a couple of days ago, I've not heard anything back, where is it? That's James not dealing with orders at that point. He's spending all day answering emails. It means everybody else gets delayed even more. So just be patient. It'll get done. Like I say, if there was a problem with your order, they'd give you a shout and let you know anyway. And also, if you can at the minute, eModels takes great pride in answering queries via email as much as possible. You know, when will this be in stock? What paints do you recommend for this? What do you suggest for this, that, and the other? Advice and stuff. At the moment, they've just asked that you kind of, if you need to mail them, only mail them if it's an emergency, like related to your order. If it's an absolute necessity, I can get the word out then. Only email if it's an absolute necessity. Because again, the more time he spends answering emails, he's not dealing with actual orders and getting them packed. And it may just be James on his own sometimes, so do keep that in mind. Be good to him. Be good to them and they'll be good to you. But the phones are turned off, so, you know, purely so he's not having to answer the phone all day. Hopefully soon everything will return back to normal as quickly as possible. And that's the thing. It's quite tough for them at the minute because, you know, eModels do pride themselves on dealing with orders quickly, getting them all done and dealt the same day, if possible. And resolving any issues, dealing with any queries as quickly as they can. Seamlessly as they can. That's what they pride themselves on. That's the service they've delivered for years. I'm going to sneeze. I might sneeze. I'm going to sneeze. Hang on. Is it going to? I'm going to sneeze. I don't know. It's there. It's on the cusp. Oh, I may suddenly sneeze. You know when you got a sneeze and it's kind of half in, half out, and you don't know what's going. Oh, yeah, it's right there, right now. Kind of sticky. I don't like that one. I don't like that one. There's me clamps. Oh, there's what? Let me find a clamp. I know I'm knocking the microphone. Clampitations. Yeah, so it is quite frustrating when they, you know, they're not getting orders turned around the same day. Not all the time, but it does happen. Especially if, you know, they get all the orders packed and picked and the courier doesn't turn up. It's like, because of course the couriers are on reduced service because they've got reduced staff. So just be patient is what we're saying. Be sensible. And try not to email them unless it's absolutely necessary. Like, you know... excuse me, if you send an email saying, hi, what colour paint do you recommend for this World War II such and such, that's going to be at the bottom of the pile for email responses. If you place an order, by the way, and you do something wrong, or if you forget something, normally we just say drop them an email and just say, can you add this to my order and I'll pay extra. If you've missed something off your order, just place a second order. The guys there are savvy enough that they'll spot it and they'll sort out any duplicate shipping charges and stuff for you. Swig of coffee. But yeah, sometimes it's James on his own. And quite often he's sleeping out there overnight because he's there so late picking and packing. He's just stay here and go home in the morning. So do be nice. Look after your retailers. And they'll look after you. Now, there is some news, but I can't talk about it yet, so I won't. That was a real non sequitur there. Didn't go anywhere, but there you go. What else can I talk about? I'm having fun at the moment. My dear friend Paul from Team Inept and Glued to this Brew very kindly gifted me a year's subscription to Disney Plus. So now I can actually watch the Clone Wars animated series in all its 1080p proper resolution, high resolution, clear quality goodness. Because up until now, I've just watched it on, let's say, questionable streaming websites, which are usually in, like, you know, 360p and mono, and I can actually watch the Clone Wars now in proper stereo and proper high quality graphics. It's great. I'm loving it. I have to say though, I don't like the fact Two things I don't like about it is when you go into the page, like for a series, and it says season 1, and the episodes, they go across like that. So you get 5 episodes, you have to click on the arrow to make them scroll that way. Why not just have them listed like that, and you can just scroll down? That's like Amazon Prime. It's much better if they did that. And the other thing is, it doesn't show you which ones you've already watched. For example, on Amazon Prime, you have a little progress bar at the bottom of each thumbnail, and you can see, oh, I've watched that one, I've watched this one, now I know where I'm on that one. And if I watch an episode and then come back 2 weeks later and forget which episode I watched, it doesn't always tell me which ones I watched. So it's a little bit janky. Not the perfect system in the world. I don't like the fact that I can't use spacebar to pause it, or if I do, if it's full screen, the spacebar to pause doesn't work. If it's not full screen, it does work. But who doesn't watch full screen? Weird. So yeah, it's a little bit janky, but hey, it's free. I've been gifted it. I can watch Clone Wars in proper quality, and The Mandalorian and things if I want to. So yeah, I've got a year to binge all that now. That's cool. And if you know me, you know that I'm not a big fan of the prequel movies. I hate them with a passion, but I absolutely adore the animated Clone Wars series. I think it's really, really good. It's a really good series. They even make Jar Jar Bleeding Binks tolerable. I don't know how, but they do. They manage to do it. And I have to say, if you want inspiration for weathering and painting styles, and if you've got access to it, have a look at some of the, not some of the early season 1 and 2 stuff, maybe the season 4 or 5 stuff. Have a look at the way that things look, the way they've, if you want, painted some of the things in the series. Like, have a look at some of the ships and vehicles and the droids. Even like the separatist droids, like the tactical droids. They have a certain degree. Everything's weathered. You don't really see it very clearly up close, but without looking up close. But everything has a certain level of weathering. Everything's scuffed and used and scraped. Even like the droids, the tactical droids, you know, and they just look wet. And it's a great inspiration because you can look at that. I've found myself watching episodes of the Clone Wars and thinking to myself, I know exactly how I paint that. I know exactly how I get that effect. I know, I just wish people actually made decent models of some of the stuff in the Clone Wars, like a tactical droid, you know what I mean? And I don't mean the tabletop scale Star Wars game, because that's all a bit too small. I mean, some of the, you know, the bigger, smaller scale models, bigger models. I would pay all my kidneys for a 1/9 scale tactical droid. That'd be great. Or 1/12 scale. Be fantastic. I would sell all your kidneys happily for that. Let's get this cleaned off. So yeah, there's some great reference in there. If you want to just try out a different painting style, you know, if you want to try and emulate that, I must do some at some point. Just to trim that from my knife, actually. Just to try something new. It's a slightly bleached out pastel-y shade kind of paint effect with weathering on it. Everything's a little bit faded. There's no real bright, bold colours that much. It's a very distinctive sort of style pattern. It's hard to explain, really. You just have to watch. But it has a certain tabletop miniature paint style to it. If you look at some of the figures, they have the look of a miniature. Properly painted miniature, tabletop standard, the way they do the highlights and shades on clothing and stuff. So it certainly lends itself to a very brush painty style. So yeah, it's great. It's also inspiration. Two great things to inspire you if you're wanting to get some inspiration for scruffy weathered painting are the Clone Wars for muted subtle weathering, and Borderlands for, well, 3 things. What did the Romans ever do for us? 3 things. Clone Wars series, animated series, for that kind of muted pastel weathering effect. A used but not worn too much kind of effect. Borderlands for comic book style, not cel shaded, but comic book style ink and watercolor style weathering and painting. It's quite interesting. I'm going to do more Borderlands style paint jobs on some kits because I just love doing it. Using actual ink to do the outlining is quite good fun. And then there's Fallout 4. Just the load. I've said it before. The loading screens on Fallout 4 are a great resource. Whether you're on PC or console, the loading screens can be a great resource because you can, when you go to a loading screen, you have a model in front of you that you can spin around and move with the sticks. They're a great resource for looking at how they've modelled rust and specular highlights and shiny bits. Like when you sometimes see, say, a model on the screen of a laser rifle or something, or a plasma rifle or something like that, you can see how some of the rifle is shiny and some of the rifle is matte and weathered, and on some of the bare metals you've got shiny bits and matte bits, and it's a good little teaching experience as to how something metallic can be both shiny and matte at the same time in different parts. It's a good little exercise in learning that. So yeah, definitely, if you're into games, definitely the loading screens for Fallout 4, absolutely. They're a great reference. Source of inspiration, perhaps. Like, look at the pipe rifle. I don't know if you're on a loading screen, you occasionally see like a pipe rifle. And they're like made out of wood and metal tubes and pipes, but they're obviously like rusted and corroded because they're like whatever, steel or something, but they're not stainless. And they look fantastic because they're clearly metal, yet they're all brown and rusty orangey tones, but with a certain dark grey tone to them. And then when you move them around with the sticks, they have a certain point at which the light hits at a certain angle, and you get this orangey grey dull matte metal suddenly has a big fat specular highlight on an edge or a corner or a little patch where it's perhaps been rubbed smooth and it just looks a little bit more shiny. And it's a real hodgepodge of matte and shiny. So yeah, stuff like that is great to look at, just for inspiration. To look at it and think, how would I reproduce that? How would I create that effect? It's simpler than you think. I painted some of the Modiphius Fallout figures, little tiny tabletop miniatures, and I did a super mutant who had a pipe rifle and junky metal armor, and that was basically lots of metallic. It was a metallic base color and lots of like brown washes and orangey brown washes, just to get that weathered look and a dark black wash and stuff. It was quite simple, quite effective. Go and look them up. It's quite surprising how much weathering there actually is in the Clone Wars animated series when you think it's not. It's quite a used universe, even for the Separatist stuff. Like, you know, they're brand new droids and they're brand new ships, and it still looks weathered. There's no clean and shiny. Or very little anyway. It's quite pleasing to look at. It's quite pleasing to see. Especially when you compare it to that series that came out a few years later with what was it called? Not Rebels. There was the other one. It was like kind of animated, cel shaded look, and it was all shiny. It had the kids on the oil rig station with. It was kind of rubbish. I only watched a few episodes and got bored, but it had this kind of clean, crisp, overexposed, cel shaded effect. It didn't work. It looked terrible compared to Rebels and Clone Wars. It just didn't. It didn't look used. It looked too clean, and it wasn't interesting to look at. What are we doing? I'm on camera. Yes. But if you're the kind of person that just makes nice, clean, shiny models, I can't recommend strongly enough that at some point you give weathering a go. Because although it is a skill to paint a nice, clean, shiny model like a car, a truck, or a plane or something, and I don't have that skill. I'm not that skilled enough to be able to do that. It's partially why I do weathering. But while it is an impressive skill, you're kind of missing out on an extra load of extra painting. If you enjoy the painting part, there's a whole load of more stuff you can do after that you're missing out on. To me, it's half the process not been done. You're missing out big time. Give it a try. Give it a try. Easier than you think. At least it is nowadays, and now we're long past the days when weathering was a black wash or a silver dry brush, and that was your lot. So many products out there now for weathering. That it's just all the fun in the world. Just gently scraping away this mold line. Gently, gently. Yep. Wet my thumb just to try and get rid of that little bit of schmutz there. Is it coming off? Handy tip, if you do make any little scrapes or scratches when you're doing anything like this, get yourself your extra thin. Get rid of most of it off the brush. And just gently run it over a little scrape or scratch or any little fuzzy bits of plastic that are being uncooperative. Just run it over and it'll melt them back and flatten them down. That should be fine once it's primed. Lovely. And the other one is there. I thought I might have lost that. Have a quick look at chat before we do that though. Boxing scale is gone apparently. Unfortunately, I'm leaving once again. Good luck with the build. Good luck and all the best to everyone. Thank you very much for coming in there, Boxing scale. It's very nice of you to join us all the way from Mother Russia. Do come again. People talking about drinks. People will not mind all those extra orders when the end of your accounts are done. Absolutely not. Business has been booming, let's say, for e-models for the last year. Trying to go through. Everybody's talking about alcohol and beer in the chat. Do remember this is a family-friendly show, by the way, folks. You're all right for now, but don't get too adult in the chat there. YouTube is eating posts again, says Muse. Do make sure you've got it set to live chat, not top chat. Top chat filters out stuff. Trying to catch up with chat. I like making mud for dioramas. Weathering is messy fun, says Muse. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Okay, I'm not drinking there. Much better. Bigger screen, says Muse. I'm always better on the big telly. Big telly! Sarah Jane says, if someone gives me the dosh, I'll order lots of things. Okay, there we go. Just caught up with the chat. I'm not missing much. So let's crack on. Of course, don't forget for if you're wanting to get into weathering, or you want some inspiration for weathering, go and check out if you're able to go outside. If you're allowed to, go and find like anywhere you've got like a building yard or builders or construction or anything where you've got like industrial type vehicles. Because they're always worn and rusty and weathered, especially on building yards and construction sites. Look at the JCBs and the diggers and all those kind of things. Loads of stuff you can look at. If you can go outside, obviously, safely. Weathering can be so much fun. Which is why when I paint this, I will do some. I'm not going to make it look battered and abandoned and beaten. I'm not going to go that far. It's not going to be covered in paint chips and stuff, but I will have some weathering on it. It's hundreds of years old. Been through many different pilots, or whatever they're called. I forgot the word already again. Precepts, that's it. It's got some tales to tell. It will be well looked after, but it's not quite got the team of people looking after it that it used to have. No, it's the last of its kind from that house. So it's going to have some scars. And of course, it's in a lot of battle, so it's going to be dirty. We shall make it look dirty. Filthy dirty. But not horribly dirty. You're not going to make it look like it's been in the World War I trenches. It needs some jank to it. Oh, sniffles, I do apologise. Every time the lights go on, sniffles come out. Do 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 do. Oh, where's my other one? There it is. Quickly sand these away. Sandularity. Time are we on? Ooh, it's 20 to 5. I don't think we'll get much done today, will we? Be lucky if we get our leg finished. But I'm not rushing. Unlike bits in boxing scales, unlike boxing scale, I'm not rushing. You see what I did there? That's dead clever, that was. I made that up in my brain just then. It's nice when you get people from all over the world. In fact, there we go. I don't need you to give out personal information in chat, but where are you? Where in the world are you right now? I don't need to know your address. Don't get too giveaway on the information, but where are you in the world? I'm in the northwest of England. Up Cheshire way. Where is everyone? I'm in the UK. Where are you guys? I mean, ironically, I know most of you anyway, because most of you are my regular viewers. But where are you all? Don't worry, we're not going all AOL chat room ASL, anything like that. Not suddenly 1997 all over again. Have trouble getting this little blade in there. Get in there. Scrape it away. I hope you're going to see in the back of my head when I'm doing this. I know you see in the back of my hand, which is not ideal. But these are tiny fiddly parts. And I can't keep moving the camera around. Go. Clean. Lovely. Lovely. A little bit of smoothing on that. I knock the microphone or spawn Guthorm in the head. Sorry, Guthorm. Suffice. There we go. Is that done? So let's go back to the original leg then. So that's that bit done there. We've got the feet bits done and the pistons. So he can go over there and bring this one back. This may now be cleanable. Might not be. We can try. I normally give it about 45 minutes to an hour. Putting the glue squidge on before I try and clean it up. You can leave it longer. So what we've got now is we've got these two pieces stuck together from earlier with this bead of squishy plastic and glue going around it. So what I'm going to try and do is clean that up as best I can. I'll start off in an area that you're not going to see too much of, which is here, because you've got armour that goes over the knee, I think, if I remember rightly. I think here that's going to be pretty much covered up. The beauty of this is all this is covered up anyway, so we'll just do a quick test scrape just to see. Yeah, that's perfect. So first thing I'm going to do, we've got this big mould line going around here. I'm going to be very gentle because I don't want to flatten off the edge, but I'm just going to very gently get this at 45 degrees and just scrape it along to get rid of that bead of glue. I'm hardly putting on any pressure at all. Now there is a nub there that I need to sort out. We'll come back to that in a minute. I'm hardly using any pressure. You can use this side of the blade if you want, because it's naturally curved, if you want to maintain the curve of the plastic, but I'm kind of comfortable enough doing it that way. But this is just to get rid of the bead for the moment. We'll come back with the sanding sponges to get the curve back. Get rid of that nub. I'm just quickly getting rid of that. I'm putting no pressure on so it's not scraping the horrible crap out of the plastic. What I can do now is very carefully try and file this nub away while trying to keep the curve. I'm again not using any pressure at all. Could use a knife, but I risk gouging if I do that. A file is a very quick way to get rid of the nub whilst causing minimal damage to the plastic around it. I could use a sanding sponge, but it's going to file everything. This I can target onto that nub. I'm just trying to keep the curve as best I can. I'm using no pressure at all. That's pretty good. And then what I can do is then come in with my sponges of the sandage. Start sand that away. Now, because these are sanding sponges, they do conform to the surface. They'll bend around the surface. So if it's a curved surface, they'll kind of squash it in, they'll bend around it. So it helps keep that curve. Go around here and see how that looks. Again, most of this is going to get covered up, so how's that looking? I'm going to hold it up to the light and have a look. I can still see a slight bulge. Bulgy look at the bulgularity. So I'm going with a rougher sanding stick. This is a sanding stick, not a sponge. Try and get rid of that bulge a little bit. File. Bizarrely, I often find that files are less destructive in terms of scratch marks and scrape marks than sanding sticks. So if I do that again, I can push down quite hard because it will conform to the curved shape and help. It's not gonna give me a flat spot basically. Hold that up to the light, which you can't see, and that's looking smooth as baby's bottom, sir. Lovely. So there you go. That is the easiest possible way that you can get rid of a seam line. If it's a very fine seam line, I know you can see a bit of a bleb there where that nub was, but that's purely, looking at it now, it's purely, I think, oh no, maybe not. Hang on, just quickly. Holding these things up to the light is important. It's easy to think you've got everything nice and smooth, but like I said before, the moment you put a layer of primer on that, and especially if you're going to do shiny metals, it might make that little nub stand out. So don't assume that everything's nice and smooth. So when I put primer on this, I'll get a true feel for how smooth that is. I think it's going to be pretty good. Cool. So that's how I do mold lines. None of this filler nonsense and covering it in putty and then sanding it back. No, because then you're going to, no. Bit of glue, squish, leave it for a bit, and there you go. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, all done and dusted. I'm going to go around now and do the rest. Quick look at chat. Oh yes, I asked where you all were, didn't I? Let's have a look. I did too. Fox is doing what I did before, says Muse. Yeah, YouTube chat can be weird sometimes. It's down to YouTube there. California Coast, says Joseph Kelly. Welcome, Joseph. Oh my God, says Muse. Don't know why. Scotland, Northeast, ex-oil capital of Europe, says Athol. Cheshire West represents, says Raging Modeler. Yeah, I know where you are. Baldy Tomas says Ontario, Canada, where good things grow. It's yours to discover. You still haven't sent me a shipment of poutine, and I'm most unhappy about it. Next to the X on the map, says Sarah Jane. Anywhere near Guelph, Ontario. I think it was Guelph or Guelph. And he's 45 minutes away. He's in Hamilton. Sometimes filler is overkill, says Muse. 99.9% of the time I don't use filler because I'm totally lazy. And I just can't be bothered. When an option like this is perfectly valid. Not in every single case. There are situations where you can't do this. If you're working with resin, for example, then obviously if I'm building a Forge World resin kit, I can't use this method because resin doesn't work this way. You can't melt the resin. So if it was a resin kit, then yes, absolutely you'd be depending on fillers. And if it's, for example, I don't know, you've got a dude with a something, there's a big gap between his arm and his torso, yeah, you can't do much with that. You've got to fill that with something. So there are always times when you will need fillers. I just try to make sure I avoid those times, basically. If I'm looking at a kit, I'll always read up on it, and I'll look at it as much as I can to see if it's going to be likely to have many big gaps. And I'll read up other people's experiences of building it. And if I see people having to use filler to fill, I'll be like, yeah, I'm not making that. Yeah. One of the first steps to becoming adept at model making is learning which battles to fight in anything, in any process. One of the major things is don't fight every battle. Learn which ones you can't win, or which ones you can't be bothered trying to win. Can't recommend one of these enough, though. They do make life so much easier. Like, just because I can purely scrape this away now, it's not gouging the crap out of the plastic surface, which means I can go in with a whatever grit that is, maybe 600 grit, 800 grit, or 1000 grit or something. I don't know, because UMP never put it on the sponge. I can go in with that and just clean it back a little bit. I'm not having to do 5 different sanding coats because I've not got all the sanding marks to clean up. So it's all about getting the right tools to minimize the amount of work you need to do, unless you actually enjoy the building part, in which case, go for it. If you want all the complicated steps, then absolutely do that. I don't. It's not my bag. No interest in such steps. I want it to look as good as possible, but I'm not going to spend 6 hours making a leg. He says, spending 3 hours making a leg. Yeah. Now, there is a gap down there still. But again, learn which battles you can fight and which ones you can win. I can't get a sanding tool in there I'd have to fill that with putty if I wanted to, and I couldn't get a tool in there to sand it because it's a recess. So you just leave it there. You can explain it away as being part of the machine or something like that. There's sometimes where you just can't do anything. Basically, there's nothing much you can do, and you never will be able to. You could put some plastic card in there, but I think that might be an attachment point for some armour anyway, so we shall see. Now, we've got this little piston at the back here. Have you seen all this, by the way? Piston at the back. Quite tricky to get to. And again, we have a little sort of ribbed texture to the what do you call the thing that the piston goes into? Like on a piston like that. What's the housing bit that it goes in? I've asked this before and I can't remember what the answer was. I'm just scraping away a little bit there because I can't quite get the other tool in. Bit. Thankfully there's not a rivet on that centre part, so it's fine. But if I do lose a rivet, I've got rivets to replace it with. Again, because I can't quite get in there, we'll put the blade away. We'll come back in with the scribulatory tool. Just gently see if we can scribe that away. Quite a thin blade, but it's not as flexible as the scalpel blade. Piston, ram and shaft. Okay, so it's the ram, the bit that the shaft goes into. That makes sense. Well, this is a bit bigger than the other one. Can I file it? No, not quite. Being a bit tricky with the old mould line down this piston ram. May have to relent and use the blade of knifage. Not that I like to do this, but sometimes you have to. Bit of sandy. Thank you for that, Mayhem. A little rough and ready around about there, but we can clean it up. This file's a little bit more gentle than the other one. What doing? I'm randomly grasping around for tools without knowing which tool I actually want. Mold line there, or rather a seam line. Cleaned up. Yes, if you do have an hour free, go and look up the lore on Imperial Knight or any Warhammer lore. There's so much sort of deep, in-depth, storied history to Warhammer 40,000. You may just think it's a silly children's toy soldier tabletop game, but there's a massive amount of lore and backstory and, you know, adult fiction behind it that you could lose yourself in for days. Before, go and watch Lutin's channel. There's a few channels out there that talk about 40k lore, but to be honest, 99% of them are garbage. A few of them just read out Wikipedia, which is rubbish, and they have annoying voices. Lutin is a really good channel because he actually writes proper stuff, explains things well. He can be quite funny, and he really explains the grim darkness of the far future in a quite gruesome way. Sometimes it's quite a gruesome future you wouldn't want to live in. Okay, so how's that looking? That's looking a little bit softened now, so I need to go back in around these little ribs at the back and just scribe in an edge just to make them a bit more defined. I'm having some trouble with it here because the glue's a bit prominent, hard to remove. It's not like a little mould line that's easy to remove. This is a line of glue, the bead of glue, and it's a bit more tricky in such a confined space. So what I need to do, go in, smooth it away. Now once I've done that, I've rescribed in the edges of the little ribs. I can go in with the extra thin, take most of it off the brush and just run it down the gaps just to smooth off any little fuzzy bits I've left behind. And that is now a nice smooth recessed part. Now just clean this bit up here, quite clean. But yeah, using the old extra thin to smooth plastics is brilliant, especially when you're doing things like drilling out gun barrels and things like that. It's an absolute godsend. Anytime you've had to work in a small area and you've got little fuzzy bits of scrapey plastic left, just run some extra thin. It'll smooth it all off. Like a dream. I need to clear my throat, 1 second. There we go, swig of coffee. Oh. You know, I think today we might be lucky if we finish one leg. At this rate, only one more to go and then 2 arms and a torso and a head. And everything else. Don't get pissing off with the build now, Fox. There is also a 6th. People are talking about ins and outs of detail. I assume we're talking about Lutin. Pulled tomato, recipe is easy. Fresh cut, deep fried French fries covered in cheese curds and Bovril beef gravy. Yeah, I know that. But, you know, making my own poutine is not the same as actually proper Canadian poutine, is it? Made by the Canadians. In the Canada. I've got sniffles again. Apologies. Endless round of wiping my nose. People are talking about Ian's shop and 6th, but I don't know what that is. I've missed too much of the chat, I think. Now we know why it takes Fox 3 months to build a kit. It's about the details and cleaning process. Because I thought, yep. When I put my mind to it, I can do a proper right nice model. They can scrub it right nice. If I was just building like a World War II tank or something, I'd be like, just build it, I don't care. Just get it built, I don't want to paint it. When it's a Warhamster, I've kind of got a bit of passion in the model, and it's fun to build, so I do kind of enjoy it. Especially when it's a knight, a knigget, because you can't beat an Imperial Knight. when I put my mind to it, I can scrub up nice on a build. Sometimes. Sometimes. Now this is a nub right in there, and it's really tricky. I could have got rid of it before, but I don't want to have an uneven surface. But it's really tricky because of these cables, so I can't quite knife blade in there to clean it up nicely. A little bit tricky, that one. It's also not much bigger than the width of the actual scraper blade, so I've not got a lot of options for cleaning it up, and I haven't really got any option at all for getting in there with sanding sticks because it's far too small a gap. I think I may have got round it, just about. Again, anything that I can't quite get to cover up, that's where weathering comes in. Maybe. I'll use the knife blade reluctantly because it can get into that small gap. I can clean the little seam there because I can get to that. And there. And on that step bit there. Just about. Just a bite. And then for that little rough bit where I've used the knife blade, I can go in with the extra thin. Damp brush and just gently melt it smooth. Beautiful. Beautiful. Never underestimate the power of glue to do other things than just assemble. Right, so that's there. That's pretty much anything that's got a seam line there. It's going to be visible. That's now covered up. Anything that we can't get to can be cut. Oh, no, there's that bit there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This bit here, see, there's lovely. Going with our gentle file for this one. It's a bit big. Can I fit a sanding spongulation in there? No. Can I fit half a sponge in there? Maybe. Me. Almost get in there. Here's an old trick for you. Snip off half your sanding sponge. There you go. Now you can get it in. Little tiny spots. Yep. Now there's a little bit of mould line in there that I'm going to be able to get anything in, so I'm just going to go at it with the knife. I'm keeping half a mind open though to the fact that although it's all going to be shiny metals, on things like this where you've got the sort of the ribbed parts of the rams and stuff like that, there's going to be shades going on this and washes and things. And that may also help hide some of the recessed detail that I can't quite get to fully clean out. I've got to keep half a mind open that there are things where I put a shade of Nuln Oil or Agrax shade in there or whatever I'm using, that will actually hide a lot of sins as well. So there we go. So that's done. So time to assemble. Avengers, assemble. I don't know why I did that voice. Plunk. Now, this is where it gets very important that you do things the right way. Read the instructions. If you're wondering how big an Imperial Knight is, by the way, this is a Deathcore of Krieg Trooper that I happen to have lying around. Just so you get an idea of size. This is a typical 5'8", 6 foot bloke or something. And this is just the bottom half of the leg. So just so you know. Just so you know. Right, so it's actually the entire leg. So what we need to do is we need to now now oh I see. I've noticed something. Okay, if you've never made an Imperial Knight kit, you won't know this. But it's very important that you put the right leg on the right foot and the left leg on the left foot. You put the leg on the right way around. If you look at this piece here, I don't know if you can see. Can you see? Okay, on this piece here, you've got these 4 rings. And this one has a little square nub on it. This is important. Now, on the original Imperial Knight release, before we had 4 versions in one box, it pointed out something that on this it doesn't. And that is that you have to do this in a very specific way. You need to make sure, when you first glue the leg to this plate, because this plate sits on here like that, so you need to make sure that the piece with the little square nub, how around does this go? Okay, first of all, the little stuff sticky out nubs here need to be face down, and the ring with the square nub must be at the back. So this needs to go together like that. If you have this piece with the square nub at the front, and you try and put it together, it doesn't fit. You can see there how that totally doesn't go together. Now you'll notice, because it doesn't go together, it doesn't work. It doesn't fit on like that. Put it that way around, it fits perfectly. This bit fits into there. So as a shorthand guide, it doesn't say it in the instructions, but it used to in the old release of these instructions, that square bit needs to be at the back underneath the long piston. And that's how it lines up there. And then this bit, it doesn't matter which way around you do this, so this bit just needs to sit on top of that like that. So that goes on there like that. Whichever way you want. Line it up like a normal person. And not like a spoon. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That would normally sit on top of there like that. And then the back, which is the one with the square nub, would sit like that. And that's how you know it's the right way around. If your leg fits flush like that, you've got it correct. If your leg is like that and doesn't seem to fit, it's wrong. So that square nub is your key. Like I say, on the old instructions, it used to show that being the correct way. It doesn't do that anymore. I don't know why they've taken that out. I mean, you can kind of figure out it doesn't fit because it doesn't actually fit, but, you know, there you go. So that's the first bit. So we need to get that on. This is where it gets a bit tricky. This bit goes together here like this. We're going to glue this bit first. And we've got the sniffles. Now I'm using extra thin, which is a beautiful glue because you can put the pieces together and then run the glue into the gaps. I can't recommend enough, by the way, if you are making models and you're used to using, like, say, the Revell contactor with a little metal applicator tube, or, you know, glues like that where it's thick gloopy glues, I can't recommend enough that you are embracing some of the thin cements, the welding cements. I do have the Tamiya regular cement here, and it has its uses, but for clean assembly without mess and fuss, you can't beat extra thin. Now, when you put these little brackets on, and I'm not sure which one is which. 59 and 60. Now I've separated them out before, and I don't know which one goes where now. These little Y brackets, where do they go? Okay, they just stick out. These are the little brackets onto which the armour sits. And I think they go that way, I think. If I get this wrong, because I've taken them off the sprue and then not paid attention. If I get them wrong, you suddenly can't attach the armour. I didn't pay attention to that. I think that's wrong. I think it's the other way. That way, maybe? This will learn me for not paying attention. Goes that way. No, the instructions aren't 100% clear as to which way these go. I think it's that way. Oops. My advice to you when you do this is keep these bits on the sprue until they're ready to be glued on. Avoid any problems. I think that's that one. Quite sure. Doodle 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 doodle. Okay, I think it's that one there. These are basically the little bits that go into the back of the leg armor. So they should sit like, apologies if my head's in shot. That might do very quickly. I think it's that way around. I might do very quickly is actually get that piece of leg armor just ready. I'm not going to be gluing it on until much later on, but if I just get that piece ready, I can test fit it. These are basically two little sort of braces onto which the shin, or not the leg armor, the shin armor attaches later on. So what I want to be able to do, shin armor goes on like that. It's here like that, you see. Just nub. I need to make sure that it all fits together nicely when I attach it later, because there's little attachment points in here. So what I shall do is I shall glue these on the way I think they're supposed to go on, which I think is this way. Touch of extra thin, and then that. Apologies, this is out of shot. If this is out of shot, I should say. Touch of extra thin. I think this is the way they're supposed to sit. Or yeah, because if you make one of these yourself, don't take these two bits off until you need them. That way you know which one's which. But also, it means if I take this off now, I can adjust these to fit properly. So there's a peg and a hole here, and these two bits should line up with the recesses in the armor, which they do perfectly. Perfect. It was Moida. Right, so that's fine. So I've got that right then. That's good. Thank goodness for that. There. So I've just double checked they are the right ones. Yes, they are. Cool. So what I'm going to do, just so I know again for future, I'm going to. That was part number 61. I've taken it off the sprue. So what I'm going to do, because these are chiral, is I'm going to write 61 on there. This is a Uniposca paint pen. It's acrylic paint in a pen. Don't use a Sharpie, because a Sharpie can bleed through paints and primers. Acrylic paint pens is just acrylic paint. So I just know that's part 61 now for later. I'll have to do the same on the other leg because I cut the other one off 2 bits as well. So that's that done. I need to be very careful of those not to move them. The next step is to attach this to this. Again, it doesn't matter which way around. The foot is not chiral. There's no left and right side of the foot. There's just the foot. That just sits on like that. What I can do is get some extra thin in there. Start the process off. A bit in there, why not? That sits on there like that. Bunketate it down. Get some glue in there. You know, I'm not putting a lot of glue in there, just a little bit of extra thin. But imagine you doing this with like tube glue or squidgy glue. It'd be a mess right down there right now. That's going to sit like that there. I will just double check once again that everything still fits. We'll put that on there as a rough test. Peg into the hole, them into there, like a glove. There you go. Now, I'm not going to glue this leg armour on, and I recommend that you don't. Purely because once that goes on, you can't get under there. Yeah, if you want to be able to paint all this shizzle here, don't glue this on till the very end. We'll come back to that later. There we go, that's that on there. Needs a bit of cleanup later on, perhaps. It looks a bit rough, that little bit where I put some glue in there to clean up. It looks a bit rough, but once it's got primer on it, it should be fine. So that's on there, that's on there. That's the front. Oh, that's the dropping. Now we have the pistoniums. And what we need is a long piston and a short piston, because it's that way around, long one, short. And all we do here, quite simple. Those little holes there, that goes in there, and that locks into there. That sits in that bit. Dead simple. Glue that in now. Now I have seen people, this is basically built into a fixed pose, this kit. One can only hope that one day somehow Games Workshop managed to get Bandai to make a fully articulated Imperial Knight. That would be just the absolute best thing ever. But I have seen people reposition the legs into different poses. You know, so maybe one leg is raised up in the air, or one is behind and it's walking ahead. I don't have those skills. Remember, painter, not builder. I'm not the kind of person that can hack off a leg here and then reposition it. But when they do, what they have to do is rework these pistons to fit. You can see that one's short and that one's long. So there we go. So that is and leg. And it stands up by itself. It's amazing. It's a miracle. It's a miracle on 34th Street. It's a Christmas miracle. We'll just double check it still sticks to make sure I've not knocked anything out of place. So that's that. That's what the leg will look like. It's got more armour to go on it, but that's so we know the armour fits. It's going to be tricky, but the reason you don't put the armour on now is because you can't get to any of that stuff you've just stuck on to paint it. So leave the armour off. All about sub-assemblies. Time are we on? 5:15. Right, I need to wipe my nose again. Because I've got the sniffles. Actually have a swig of coffee. And we'll see if I can get the other leg built. If I can build at least 2 legs in one 3-hour session, that's pretty good. Probably won't. David Sanderson. What are we on about? People talking in chat. Fox has the attention span of a goldfish. Also, Fox has the attention span of a goldfish. My friend's game shop, Fox. Okay, cool. Muse, says Muse. Cool. Oh, no. Oh, there's lovely, says Mayhem. Is Fox thinking again? Is that what the noise is? 45 feet high and weighing in at 60 tons plus the weapons and weight. Correction, 85 feet high. Look at the capillarity. Tamiya glues are great. Time to put dinner on, says Athol. Stay safe and look at the instructions of the magnification lenses before fitting and gluing, always. Yes, Virginia, there is a model making guru, says EC Idaho. What? I don't understand what that means. Right, let's see if we can get this other leg done. Now we don't have to worry about the things. This may not be ready for scrapey yet, but it might be. Let's do a little testicular area. The testicularity. When I first did an Imperial Knight, I used to go into my local Warhammer store, and this is before remodel stocked Warhammer, so I'm allowed. I used to go into my local Warhammer store, and I'd go in and pick up whatever I was getting, but I'd always look up at the Imperial Knight and be like, oh, one day I'm going to save up and I'm going to get an Imperial Knight. And the manager would laugh, because I say it every time, and I never come out with an Imperial Knight. And, I walked in one day, and I just stood there, and I just stood there at the till, and I went, let's do it. And he just, without me saying it, he walked up and picked up the Imperial Knight off the shelf and dragged it over. Yep, that's mine now. Mine now, Dave. I'd always had my heart set on an Imperial Knight. It's kind of the iconic Warhammer 40k kit. No, they're not cheap. They are. You know, it's a treat kit. But it's certainly impressive. Like I said before, the reason that, you know, the price may be higher than some of the other kits is because of the cost in the game, like the number of points. You're not going to be fielding, unless it's a game where you've got, like, you know, you might have a game where you've got 3 knights, like, but then you and your enemy might have 3 knights each, but that might be it. 3 knights and a couple of armigers and a small squad of dudes, and that might be a 2,000, 3,000 points. So they know that it's not a kit that you're going to buy a lot of, which is why you can buy, like, you know, 10 Imperial Guard grunt troops for sort of 10 quid or whatever, because you're going to want hundreds of those. But you pay more for your Imperial Knight because you're only going to buy 1 or 2. And they need to get back the cost of development and manufacturing. That's how they calculate it. Unlike a normal model manufacturer where they're going to send lots of everything, they can just purely go off the cost of manufacturing everything else. With this, they have to go off, you're only going to buy 1 or 2. That's why if you go to Forge World and you buy a proper Titan, like a Warhound Titan, which is like 3 times as tall as one of these, that's like 1,500 quid. Because you're going to have like 1, maybe. Occasionally they might have someone that has more than 1, but it's unlikely you're going to have like more than 1 in your army in a game to make the money back. But it's fun, and it's one of the, that's the weird thing, that it's one of the simplest paint jobs. Like, for this one, effectively, is mostly metallic colours and then a red patch and a black patch. That's it. That came out really nicely, that did. Look how little effort that was. No putty, no filler. Just one of them, done. It's a beautiful... Oh, no, hang on. Hang on, one of them as well. No pressure. Gentle as I can. It's actually Warhammer stuff that's got me into using files, because I never used to use files. I always thought files were a lot more aggressive than sanding, sanding sponges, but they can actually give you a much cleaner finish than sanding sponges sometimes. I can't remember exactly what is covered up by armour here, so I'll just go ahead and clean it all. Where's that one we need? Not the one I need. The one I need is there. I'll move that leg out of the way. Oops. I will have more space, more knights to build on my channel as well, because I'm building up my own army. I'm building up a number of different forces for my own army that I'll one day eventually maybe get to play. Probably never will. But it's going to be an Imperial army, so it's got Imperial Guard, it's going to have Death Corps and Tempestus Scions, and some Space Marines. My Space Marines are going to be Space Wolves. Space Puppies. So, I'm going to have a few Imperial Knights with Space Wolves style Imperial Knights, I think. I'll make them free blades who have joined help fight the Space Wolves. That way they can be like, they can have Space Wolves iconography on the knights and stuff. Because there's no official Space Wolf knights. But you can, free blades are like Imperial Knights that don't have a house. They don't fight for a specific knight house, either because they've decided to go it alone, or they've been exiled from their knight house for whatever reason, but they still want to help fight the forces of chaos, or, you know, whatever reason. They're just like lone wolves. They're just independent, called free blades, and that you can have some fun with them. If you're doing if you're painting an actual existing in-law knight house, you're bound to paint the right colour scheme and pageantry and stuff and heraldry on it. Like if you want to have your knights for, because if in the codex for the knights, there are different rule sets for different knight houses, like House Terran, House Griffith, things like that. But you kind of need to paint them in the right heraldry and colours to be that house. You can play that rule set, because each house has different tactics and things like that. So, but with free blades, you're welcome to basically paint them however you want, because they're like independent mercenaries that just happen to have an Imperial Knight. They're knight pilots who've no longer associated with a specific house. I think there's specific rule sets for free blades in the codices, but you can basically make up your own backstory and paint them however you want. I think there's rule sets for free blades. I could be wrong. I've not gotten a codex for knights at this point. So okay, that's looking a little bit better, but it's still got a little bit of a glimp on the little bit of a blimp on the thing there. Need to smooth it down a little bit more. We may not get this leg done. I don't know yet. La, 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 la. La, la, la. Yes, I've got some Space Wolf Imperial Knight parts that I got on Shapeways a couple of years ago. There's a guy on Shapeways that sells 3D, that sells prints of Space Wolves or components for Imperial Knights to make them different things like Space Wolves and other stuff. So you've got like a big wolf head instead of the Imperial Knight head and things like that. And they look really cool, so I'll have to invest in some of those for my Space Wolves. But I do have, I've got the Imperial Knights Renegade set that came out a couple of years ago, and it's been released a couple of times. It kind of comes out for a few months and then goes out of print for another few years. And it's basically an Imperial Knight and a Chaos Knight and some scenery in the same set. And effectively, like I say, it was released for about a month or something like that. And the reason I snapped one up, and the reason everybody snapped them up really fast, because they're limited edition sets, is that you basically pay, when it comes out every now and then, you get 2 Imperial Knights and some scenery. That's 2 Imperial Knights worth, what, 85, 90 quid each, and some scenery that's normally about 35 quid. For about 120 quid. So you're effectively getting an Imperial Knight free. I think one is Chaos and one is a regular Imperial Knight, but I think you can build them both as just regular Imperial Knights if you wanted to. So they don't come out very often. I think they've done it once before. It's once every few years. But it's basically buy one, get one free for Imperial Knights. So if you're ever tempted to get a knight and you see the Renegade set, snap it up. If they ever launch it again, they might not. I've also got some armigers, which are like the small mini knights. You get the nobles that pilot the knights. Some of the lesser nobles who aren't quite high up in the chain enough to have an Imperial Knight, they can have a small armiger, which is like a little tiny mini Imperial Knight. And I've got a set of those. But you can also get from that guy that does the Space Wolves parts, you can get Space Wolves parts for armigers as well. So I might end up with like a couple of Space Wolves Imperial Knights and some armigers. have a full Imperial Knight maniple going on, but all with, they're great because like the feet, rather than being like 4 toes, it's like proper dog paws. They've got 3 big toes like that in a proper dog paw shape, and the armor just look adorable with like wolf heads and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to get some of those at some point. Not looking too bad. Again, I've got to keep in mind that that will be covered by shades and dirt and grime, so it might hide some of the sins of those mould lines, or that seam line even. That's a piston, so that's going to get covered up a little bit. Smooth it slightly. Raging Modeler says, it starts with a Knight, then a Warhound Titan, then a Reaver, then a Warlord Titan. Yes. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. What? Facepalm. I have no idea what you're talking about. Is this because I said Christmas Miracle or Christmas on 34th? I don't know. Miracle on 34th Street. Raging Modeler says, do you have a Warlord Titan? Asks Paul to Raging Modeler, who says, no, he wants a squig off though. Yeah, Raging Modeler likes his orcs. Yes, the Imperial Knights. Okay, you've got armigers, which are about this tall. Then you have Imperial Knights, these guys, which are about this tall. About a foot tall, this when it's finished. And that's what you get from Games Workshop in plastic. That's what e-models would stock. You can go bigger. Forge World is Games Workshop's sister company. There's 2 parts to Games Workshop. There's Games Workshop that do the plastic crack like these, and that's the majority of business. But there's a company called Forge World who's a part of Games Workshop, and they purely deal in resin, and they do like smaller run niche interest stuff. And they do the Titans. So you have like the Warhound Titan, which is about twice the height of one of these, and it's all massive chunks of resin. And that's like 1,500 quid. You buy it in bits. You buy different parts of it. The Warhound Titans look fantastic. And then you get a Reaver Titan, which is bigger again. It's probably about, I don't know, maybe half as tall again as a Warhound, which is about 3 times the size of this. And then you get the Warlord Titan, which is about 3 foot tall. And it's all resin, and it's like several £1,000s. And if you played that in a match, yeah, you'd be playing a big, massive match with a lot of point count. Because they're like 1,000 points just to put one on the table. To be fair, you could probably fight an entire battle with just a Warlord Titan. You might win. You might win. But they are damn impressive. I'll never get one though, because I'm not a big fan of working with resin. And I've not got that kind of money anyway. But yeah, they're the kind of thing that they're all big chunks of resin, and when you build them, you don't just glue it all together. You have to build, like, you have to reinforce it all with metal strips and pins and stuff, because it wouldn't stay in one piece. It's proper hardcore model making, that. And resin is kind of beyond my area of comfort. I've got some resin stuff, some Forge World tanks that I need to build. They're kind of about as far as I want to go with resin. They're just blocks of resin I can cope with. Yeah, but like a Titan, no. It would not be a good day when I try and make a Titan. I'd be like, oh no, it's gonna no. For example, on this Imperial Knight, you see how this Imperial Knight's got a slappy hand like that. On a Warlord Titan, the slappy hand is about the size of a hand. That's how big a Warlord Titan actually is. Wow, they cost like thousands of pounds. The slappy hand on that is about the size of your hand. They are insane. They're amazing to look at. They're beautiful to look at. But dear Lord, you have to have the skills for that. You've got to have the model making chops for that. Cleaned up. I get the thing in there, so I need to use the knife blade of, oh, I don't want to use the knife blade, but I'm going to have to. Just clean that out. And sadly, Forge World is not available anywhere except online at Forge World's website. or in the one single Forge World store in Warhammer World in Nottingham. You can never buy Forge World from a retailer. They don't sell them to retail at all. So sadly, it's not something that e-models can ever stock, because retailers can't stock Forge World. It's just, you don't. Either online on their website or in their store, in their one single store, and that's it. That's all your options. But I suppose the reason for that really is, in reality, when you buy stuff from Forge World, because it's resin and it's cast, it's manually cast, it's hand cast, limited run. There's a high percentage of situations where you'll get a Forge World kit and you'll have to get them to send a replacement part, because you'll have a bit that's not cast properly, or the mold slippage is too bad and it is replacing. And it does happen, not all the time, but it is quite common. But it's not because they're bad or poor quality. It's because that's how resin stuff does. That's how resin do sometimes. It's not an industrial process like a big metal mold and you just jam the plastic in like plastic injection molding. It's a lot more finicky. So I think the main reason they don't sell Forge Wood anywhere else in retailers is because the return rate for components and replacement rate is too high. It's kind of taken for as accepted that when you order something from Forge World, you may have to contact them and say, listen, I've got this kit and this one piece is it's too warped, the mold slip's too bad, I can't fix that. And they say, no, we'll send you a fresh one. Apparently their reputation is stellar for replacing bits that need sorting out. But they've got it down to a fine art. You say, I've got this piece, the mold slipping's so bad I can't repair that. No problem, you'll have a new fresh one within a few days. Imagine trying to do that, but through a third-party store. No, it would never happen. That's why they'll never do it. Because it's bijou, it's bespoke, it's almost custom made. You're going to have to get things replaced. Like my little tank kits, I'll probably be all right because it's only got like 5 or 6 parts. When you're building something like a Warlord Titan that's got hundreds of parts and it's thousands of pounds, you get like one of the weapons with a big mold slip that you can't possibly fix. You can't repair it. They'll just send you a new one. And you can't do that through a third-party retailer. Third-party retailers don't want to deal with that. That's why you can't get Forge World anywhere except online on their website, or the one single Forge World store in Warhammer World. And let me warn you, if you ever go to Warhammer World, the first door you go through into Warhammer World is the store, before you've been anywhere else, and then just right next to that is the Forge World store. Yeah, you're doomed the moment you walk in the door, let's just be honest. You really are. Should just be a sign over the door that says, abandon all hope, all you who enter here, and by hope we mean money. Don't go to Forge World without, a lot of money. Don't go to Warhammer World even without, a fat wallet. It's just not worth it. I've got a couple of tanks to build, Forge World tanks, for my army, and I'm looking forward to that. And if they do well, I might get more. And that's proper expensive stuff. You think this is expensive? Yeah, you can actually get stuff from Forge World for Imperial Knights, like stuff you can. They do have some Imperial Knights that are different to these. They're not the Questorist pattern Knights, and they have lots of kits where you can have extra carapaces and weapons and stuff for your. They're like a part plastic, part resin kit. If you think this is expensive, yeah, welcome to Forge World. Okay, so that's kind of about done. What time are we on? 39. Can I get this leg made in the next X minutes? Let's find out. Smooth that bit of plastic off there. Right. That needs to come out because there's a little bit of schmutz in there that I want to come out. Thank you. Right, let's get that bit of armour plating off so I can make sure I've got the right bits sorted out. I think that's everything else looking fine and dandy, apart from that little bit of scrapey there. I'll just clean up. Right. There are the bits. Now for this one we need the leg armour is part 62, I'm going to guess. Yes, 62. Let's get this snipped off the sprue. 62 come off the sprue. Yes. As like before, I cut off the little mounting points. Special. So we shall do those in a moment. So again, same again, we've got the little square nub. Now this is the other way around, so remember, square bit on the ring. Tra la 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 la, there's a square bit in, and it goes in perfectly. Make sure it's at the back. Again, if you did it the other way around, it wouldn't fit. You'd be like, it don't fit properly. Oh, it does fit. You can't do it that way because apparently it doesn't fit at all if you do it that way. There you go. That's how you know. Square bit at the back. Tra la 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 la. Get that on. If you haven't tried these extra thins though, I can't recommend them enough. It's a whole different way of gluing stuff together. It's much more efficient. It's a much more aggressive bond because it's a welding cement that literally melts the plastic together. You have two pieces of plastic, you put some cement in the gap, the plastic melts, and now you don't have two pieces of plastic stuck together, you have one piece of plastic. The best grip you're going to get. People think that super glue is the best grip in the world. Super glue is terrible. Super glue is awful. Super glue has the grip of a 1-month-old baby. It's just drivel. Super glue may grip really well, but you knock it and it'll shatter. Also, it's messy and a pain in the bum to deal with. So we can get the foot on. Let's get the foot on. It's much faster once you've done one. You know what you're doing for the next one. It's always the way. Now, of all this Imperial Knight kit, oddly enough, the bit I'm looking forward to the most is not actually painting the Imperial Knight. It's actually painting Sir Hector Cerberin, the pilot. Of course, you have to paint him twice, once in the pilot seat and once on foot. Because I actually enjoy, although I don't enjoy filming painting the figures because it can be a pain. I think they go this way. I think that's the way. The way to look at it is you've got kind of a Y shape here. It seems to be, that's the straight edge and this is the bit that comes off. So that's the one on the left hand side. Like that. That seems to be how it works. Can't really explain it very well. Save yourself the hassle and just don't cut it off the sprue till you need it, basically. It's an easier way to do that. Pretty much. Yeah, I really enjoy painting figures. A lot of people say, you know, oh, I can't paint the figures. They're too small. I can't cope with it. But you know what? It's not actually as hard as you think. As long as you've got a good... The one problem that a lot of people have painting figures, the little Warhammer style 58mm, heroic scale figures, is not that they're too small. Not that their eyesight's not up to it, because you can get magnifiers. I need a magnifier. The one thing that a lot of people fail at when they're trying to paint the figure is they don't use good brushes. It's all about having good, fine, pointy brushes with a nice reservoir to hold the paint. It's about having a paint that's perfect, that lines up like a dream. See, I say that now, but when I come to glue that armour on later, when it's all painted, it won't stick. And I'll be like, swearing a lot. Yeah, there'll be a lot of swearing when I try and glue that on. I may have to super glue it. I don't like super gluing armour on, but sometimes you have to. Yeah, so the trick of painting figures is not about having decent eyesight and all that. It's about, quite simply, your brushes. It's about having good brushes and thinning your paints properly. It sounds really simple to say that, but it's absolutely true. It's not always about having the tiniest brush you can imagine. It's about having the biggest brush you can use in that situation is the best way to put it. If you have a tiny microscopic brush that, like, you know, the size of a molecule, that's great. but it's not going to hold much paint because it's got like 3 filaments, it's got 3 fibers in it, and it's going to hold. You're going to be reloading it all the time. It's going to end up with a really brush marky texture, and it's going to be a pain in the bum. The trick is to having the biggest brush you can get with the finest point, because the fine point means you can paint the tiny details needed for a figure, but the bigger bulbous bristles mean you can hold more paint and you're reloading less often, and you can focus on what you're doing, and that's the trick. But like I say, I've got to paint the figures for this build. I'm going to hope that I can somehow film that process. Up to now in the past, I've struggled to film painting the figures because I've not had the hardware to do it, as in I've had the camera in such a way set up that all you would see is the back of my head or the back of my hand. I've made some changes to the way I do things that might mean I can possibly do figures now. I'm hoping anyway. I'm hoping. I think that's lined up. Need to line up the peg with the hole. With there being there sorted. So we have now 2 legs. I've just put 62 on that. So I know that's part number 62. 62. There we go. So I know that's piece number 62 now. Done. There we have, in the world's moment of slowest building, we have a nice set of gams, basically. A nice set of Imperial Knigget gams, which will go like that. It's kind of like he's in a walking pose. It's kind of a bit of a gangly pose, I know, but I've not got the skills and abilities to reshape everything, basically, and redo the legs. See if we can get this armour to sit on there. Not permanently, but just loosely. Loosely, you say? No, it's not going to sit on there. Never mind. So there you go. We have a set of gams. I shall have a quick look at chat. Not done bad then for 3 hours. That's terrible. I know, it takes me forever. There you go. Now, there's lots of armour that goes on those legs yet. That's just the bare bones, if you pardon the pun. Bare bones of the armour. Where are we up to? I'd love it if they released a Knight versus Stomper set, says Rager. Stomper's like the equivalent of an Imperial Knight. That would be awesome. I saw a video of a guy using Gorilla Glue, which expands to build his Titan and expanded through the gaps. Idiot. Yes, I know, that was Midwinter Minis. And to his credit, was it Midwinter Minis? He said he'd never built one before, never built with resin, and then he used that Gorilla Glue and then made a right mess of it. Yeah, I have to say, it wouldn't take a lot of work to go on YouTube and research how to put all that stuff together. Yeah, no, I don't know what he did that, but he was learning. Bless him. I wanted to kick him, says the Raging Modeler. Yes. It wouldn't be Midwinter Minis Titan build. Yeah, it was Midwinter Minis. He admitted his mistake. I mean, you've got to give him kudos that he showed it. But yeah, see, I'm using this glue that expands. Why use... I mean, you need to use a good... If you're building something as big as a Titan from resin, CA glue, super glue, isn't probably going to cut a lot of it for some of the big, massive joints. You need to pin it and brace it, and you need to use good epoxy glues and stuff. And that's one of the things that puts me off them, because it's like too much faffing about. I'm not the builder. I just want to... Yeah. Bit of glue, plastic, done. I'm happy. Thank you very much. Chaos says Warhammer World is located about 5 miles from me. Bet Fox is jealous that I'm jealous of that. My bank manager is not jealous of that. Yeah, our mate Simon, our friend of myself and some others, Simon Reynolds, who is Golden Demon when he was won a Golden Demon twice. Not only was he for a little while living just down the road from Warhammer World, he actually worked at Games Workshop for a little while, which is Warhammer World, and it was like, oh, you go to work at Warhammer World, oh, because Warhammer World is the head office for Games Workshop, and it's also the factory as well, so it's all the same thing. So yeah, we were dead jealous of Cyrus. He's not there anymore, but yeah, we were there for a while. Me and the Raging Modeler were debating whether you'll build a foot or a leg. Well, I'm going following the instructions, so it starts. I'm a leg man. If I follow the instructions, it starts with legs. It's you start with the legs, then the crotch and that, and then you build the torso and stuff, and then you have all the bits and then the dude. We were both wrong, but I was more right, says Raging Modeler. I did say he will build 2 legs, and you said not to be silly. Well, I must admit, if you told me that I built 2 legs, I'd be like, don't be daft. I'm not going to build 2 legs in one show. Craziness. But yeah, we've got all these other bits to do yet. There's loads of stuff left to do. We've got once we've got that, we've got to build the waist and the wedge area. Then we've got all the armor that we can't put on the legs. We're not going to put on any of the armor. Can be done later. Then once we've done the wedge area, general wedge reception area, it's the torso and chest, then our head and that. And then cockpit, armor plating, a couple of weapons, and that's it. It's not a complicated build. Not a complicated build. You'd spend more time cleaning up than actually, building. But it's not a complicated build, and it's not a complicated paint job. Yeah. I'm going to make sure my buttons still work. Ted, do the buttons still work?
Slap it on.
Yeah, buttons still work. So I think we'll call it there. That's going to do us for today. I shall leave this now to cure for a little bit, and when we come back next time, next Friday, I should be here next Friday. I've got to pop out during the day. Me and Mama Fox have got to go somewhere during the day, so hopefully I should be able to do a stream next Friday at 3 p.m, but I'm not 100% sure. So stay tuned for that one. It may start at 3, it may start at 4, it may have to be postponed till the week after. But I shall come back if possible next Friday, and we'll carry on. This may last us a few weeks. Like I said, though, I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to paint this. I don't know when James may... What's that there? Oh, dear me. There's a rivet come off. I'm going to have to fix that rivet. It's broken off. Fix that. I don't know when James Mate's he's currently chasing up, because obviously right at the moment, with everything being on fire and locked down and yada yada yada, it's not easy to get restocks from suppliers. And obviously e-models are doing their best to get stock in from places, but it's not as reliable as it would be normally, because obviously not everybody can move stuff around, so they're waiting for more deliveries from Games Workshop. So what I'm hoping is, say, as soon as they've got the restock and all the paints that I will be using on this are in stock again, I can crack on and paint it for you. Because there's no point me trying to build this and paint it when off the stuff is. I mean, this may be out of stock at the moment, but hopefully be back in stock again. Or at least one of the Imperial Knights will be. So I don't know when that's going to be just yet. So, but this should keep us going for a few weeks to get this built. And then once that's done, we can then crack on with the filming the painting at some point. But yes, what is that? Let me have a look at that. Is that a rivet that's snapped off? Hang on. Yes. Darn you, sir. Tell you what. Let's fix that right now. Little rivet snapped off. It's been damaged in transit. So, let's fix it. I happen to have, in my little box of tricks, some rivets. I think these are the small ones. They might not be exactly the right size. Yeah, that might work. My friend Kenneth in Australia sent me these, so don't ask me how to make them, where I can get them, because he made them. He used a rivet making set that you can only get in Australia. That's very expensive. That's almost exactly the right size. It's the right size. It's Martini. Yeah, you can tell I've been watching 70s adverts. Little touch of glue. Pick up a rivet. Pick up a rivet. Pick up a rivet. God damn it. And the glue's going to fade. That didn't work at all, did it? I've got to be careful because this is gold trim and I don't want to make it all splodgy with the glue. Rivet in place. That's not a good rivet. It's flat rivet. Whoa, flat rivet. Get off me life. Bam, a lamb. I'll do. Rivet in place. Small enough to blend in. Perfect. No one will ever know that that is not an original rivet. Yes, my friend Kenneth got himself a rivet making punch and die set. You'll have to I think they might have a set in e-models, I don't know. You basically just punch them out of little bits of plastic card, and he made me a load of rivets. And I wasn't really into doing much custom building until I got rivets from him, and now I want to put rivets on everything. I want to put plastic strip and rivets and styrene and everything. It's like, oh, I want to build things. Great. So that's that fixed. There you go. Rivet replaced. Rivet, says Mayhem. So yes, I don't know when we'll get a chance to paint this, but we'll keep this going for the next few weeks to get this built done. Like I said, I might be back next Friday. Now, a little bit of own personal business, of course. I will be back this evening at midnight tonight, or at least 5 minutes to midnight tonight, on Festa67 Workshop channel, because he's working on his Bane Blade, and I'm going along to hang out with him. So if you want more goodness, join me and Colin at 5 to midnight tonight on his channel, Festa67 Workshop. We will be back here on Monday, of course, myself, Chris, Colin, and Ted. You know, Festa67 Workshop. It's Colin from the Monday show. We'll be back on Monday night at 9 p.m. for the usual Monday show, so do make sure to watch that. And hopefully I will be back on next Friday. Colin's just uploaded the latest of his ball tank builds on this channel as well, so when you're finished here, if you haven't watched it already, go and watch episode 8 of the ball tank. Go and check it out. That's up. It's good fun to watch. Colin making his ball tank with an H. Free for a pound. Love Colin to bits. So yes, so that's going to do us. So anyway, yes, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back hopefully next Friday. I will be back myself personally, as I say, midnight tonight with Colin's channel, and then myself personally, I'll be back on my channel, Model Making Guru, at 3 p.m. tomorrow, playing some Skyrim. So come and watch that. Until next time, though, I shall say take care of yourselves. Thank you very much for watching. Do take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome like this. Go be awesome. Don't forget, of course, emodels.co.uk, your one-stop shop. Not the finger of shame. It's the finger of buying. One-stop shop. All your model making needs. I'll just double check my buttons are still working.
Clap it on.
Somehow miraculously are. And I will say until next time, take care, stay safe, wear a mask. Yes, amoebas.